Good evening. Would like to call to order our May monthly council meeting. Thanks for everyone joining us in council chambers tonight, as well as those that are viewing us live stream on YouTube. We will move right into our agenda, and first up is the agenda adoption. Is there a motion on the floor to adopt the agenda this evening? First or second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion is carried. At this time, Councilman Thevenin will lead us in our invocation this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's pray together. Father, we thank you for this day. God, what a blessing it is to live in this great community. And God, we thank you for the many blessings that you continually pour out on us. Lord, we celebrate our youth council tonight, and we're excited about what they're doing. God, our future generation looks bright. God, just ask you to be with us during our meeting tonight. Be with those that are attending the Board of Education meeting this evening. God, just give us a peaceful discussion tonight as we go about the budget. Thank you for pouring out for this community. And we just pray it all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag We have a couple special presentations this evening, and first up we have our Harrisburg Youth Council Capstone Project, which is their 25-26 Pollinator Garden Recap. Jared's going to kick us off this evening.
We had 38 members. Again, these are high-achieving high school students, grades 9 through 12. And then we had 3 advisors, and we split up those 38 members into 4 committees: Community Service Committee, Capstone Committee, Member Recruiting, and Grant Writing. Oh, there we go. Hello. The structure of Harrisburg Youth Council, so each student must obtain 100 points to be in good standing, and these points can be earned in a variety of different ways. You can do them by attending meetings that we hold every month, community service events such as the Parks and Recreation events that we hold, participation in the Capstone Project, which we're going to go further into later on in this presentation, and just general volunteering around town. Some of the guest speakers we've had, it was truly a collective effort. As you can see, I'm not going to go through all of the list, but a lot of different departments represented here, and as well as a lot of different community members throughout Harrisburg. They came throughout our year. So, and with that, I will hand it off to our president, Nathila.
Hi, my name is Nathila Shithik. I'm a junior at Hickory Ridge High School, and this year I'm really honored to be able to serve as the president of the Youth Council and the chair of the Capstone Committee. So Youth Council at its core, it's a primarily service-led organization. One of our biggest focuses is giving back to our community and helping other community members feel engaged with the work that we do. And so we do this by participating in different community service events throughout the year. So we started off this year at the YMCA ribbon cutting when the new YMCA over at Harrisburg Park first opened. We had a lot of our Youth Council members go out and volunteer and help hand out shirts and other goodie bags as well. And then around Valentine's Day, we went to Terabella Senior Living Home down the street, and we helped them make bouquets for Valentine's Day. We got donations from a couple local florist shops, and then we helped them put together all these different bouquets, and we really got to test our own florist skills. And I would like to say, I think that we did a really, really good job. Some of the other events that we volunteer at are a lot of town-hosted Parks and Rec events. So if you've been to Harrisburg Park for any of the events that the town has hosted this year, you've probably seen a youth council member or two. This year we went to the Christmas tree lighting where we helped out with both the Santa station and the craft stations as well. And then earlier in the year, around Halloween, we were at Trick or Treat in the Park where we were able to help hand out candy and also run several of the games that are there. The Christmas tree lighting is personally one of my favorite events that the youth council gets to volunteer at. I've been able to volunteer at it for the past 4 years as a member of youth council, and it's a really rewarding experience to be able to interact with different members of the community, even though it's always freezing cold and my toes always go numb. But it's really good because they're always kids and they're always really happy to make crafts. One of the more recent events that we did was the Art Walk in Markdown, Maine. This year at the Art Walk, we ended up setting up a rock painting station for people in the community. And so we got to let kids paint different designs on rocks. And then the plan was that we would take these rocks and put them in our pollinator garden, which you'll get to hear more about later. One of our other big events that we've done this year is our plant day, which was the culmination of our efforts for our capstone project, which was setting up pollinator garden. And we have a couple more slides on that in a little bit. So excited for that. One of the last events that we did to close off this year was the SCAM seminar. Basically, for the SCAM seminar, we hosted a little seminar at Harrisburg Library, and we invited seniors throughout the community to come in and learn some internet safety tricks. I know my grandma is a little bit susceptible to all the telemarketers and ads that she sees on the internet, and that was something that a lot of people in Youth Council really agreed with. So we decided to set up a SCAM seminar to help teach some of the older generation a little bit more about internet safety. And then lastly, at all of our Youth Council meetings, we always have a guest speaker, as Mr. Berger mentioned. And in this photo, we are talking to one of our guest speakers as she explains how wastewater cycles through our community. And this was one of the ways that we learned about about the benefits that our pollinator garden can have within an ecosystem. And now, next, I'm handing it over to Kayla Powell.
Hello everyone, my name is Kayla Powell. I'm a 10th grader at Hickory Ridge High School and I currently serve as the Vice President for Harrisburg Youth Council. I want to start by thanking all of you for supporting Youth Council. It's a truly amazing program I feel incredibly lucky to have been a part of for the past 2 years. Youth Council has allowed me to discover that I'm extremely passionate about serving my community, and the countless opportunities that Nathila just touched on have fostered the passion of mine, and I always make it a point to come out to as many community events as possible. Now, getting into our capstone project, at the beginning of every new year in Youth Council, we start by identifying areas for growth we see within our community. So at our first Youth Council meeting back in August, us students present our ideas to all of our peers, and from there, we unanimously decided that we wanted to construct a garden that would bring the community together as well as support our pollinators, some of which are of a declining species. One thing about Harrisburg that I greatly admire is that when someone is in need, the community really steps up. If it wasn't for the countless community donations and sponsorships we received to source our plants and garden decor, our capstone project, Grow with Harrisburg, wouldn't have been able to take off like it has. But let's take a step back. Before we even verified our location, which is the beautiful Farm Mill Park, as a council, we first had to do some research. Throughout the months of September, October, and November, our subcommittees were researching native plant species, mapping out the location of the various plants within the garden itself, as well as figuring out how to establish a pollinator garden in general. We created numerous lists and mock-ups that we then got the opinion of the council as a whole on to ensure the garden would be the best of its ability. Now I'm going to hand it off to another Youth Council officer who will get into more detail about our planning process. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Varnika Anand. I'm a sophomore at Hickory Ridge High School and I serve as the treasurer for the Harrisburg Youth Council. Now moving on to our second step of our capstone project. This is the bulk of our work and it required a lot of planning and a lot of effort. So first, apart from our first subcommittees that we had, we organized separate subcommittees. And one of the main subcommittees that took part in this step was the materials subcommittee. So this subcommittee would source materials from local businesses such as Ponders, Harrisburg Hardware, and Lowe's. Then we took a lot of these materials and laid out the groundwork for our plant day, which we were hosting in April. We had plant work days almost every Saturdays in which the Youth Council would lay out a cardboard around the garden, wet it, and put mulch on top of it to serve as the base for our pollinator garden. Once the groundwork was laid out, we then began acquiring materials for the actual plant day itself, which consisted of gathering gloves, shovels, and the plants that we wanted to plant in our garden. Moving on to our actual plant day. So we hosted this on April 18th, in which everyone from our community was encouraged to show up and participate in any of the 3 stations we had set up. The first station was what Youth Council is and what our capstone project is. So it was a way to introduce Youth Council and what exactly we were doing with our plant day to the members of the community that may not be aware of what we were doing. Next was our take-home pots for the community members to take home and plant plants in their own garden. So not only making this a singular one-time thing, but also making it something that you can personalize and take home and plant in your own garden. And our third station was the actual pollinator garden itself, in which volunteers help people plant the plants in the garden, which made it a full community effort. Next, I'll be handing it off to Amari.
Hello, my name is Amara Young, and I'm a junior at Hickory Ridge High School, and I currently serve as the conduct officer for Harrisburg Youth Council. So moving on to our community feedback from Plant Day, there were two major reactions. The first one was that community members were very excited about the biodiversity. This was very important because our capstone project was originally created to help our community, and the next major reaction was that we were able to get feedback or offerings from community members that want to donate to the council's future endeavors. These donations can go towards like future capstone projects or future community service events, like the Terabella event where we had to source flowers. These are more Plant Day photos, and we had a very large positive feedback from community members. And I remember when we first started creating our garden in the winter, specifically February, where I attended one of the pollinator work days. The garden started off with a lot of dead flowers, dead branches, and I remember we had to take rakes and push everything back into the woods, and then we had to get cardboard, dip it into the pond, put it back, and then we had to dig that back up, put mulch down. It was a lot of hard work that led us to create something as beautiful as this, where we have our bird pond and flowers that are growing. And through this success, this has made our garden eligible to become a certified wildlife habitat, which would earn it national recognition. We have also finalized a pollinator garden handbook, which includes a complete plant list and additional details like maintenance for the flowers. And now I'll let another councilman.
Hi, my name is Tanmai Jala. I'm a sophomore at Hickory Ridge High School, and I'm the Secretary of Youth Council. Over the course of this project, we spent 8 months planning, organizing, and bringing the garden to life. Together, we planted 62 individual plants, representing 16 native plant species. The installation itself took 6 workdays to complete, with Youth Council members working together to prepare the space for the garden. In addition to the garden, we also distributed over 100 flowers for families to plant at their home, helping extend the impact of the project beyond the garden itself. To support the project, we received a $500 grant, which was greatly meaningful as it was our first ever Youth Council grant awarded. Looking ahead, the Youth Council will continue to maintain and care for the garden over the next year. This includes regular watering, weeding, and organizing a summer rotation schedule to make sure the garden continues to thrive. And I'll be handing off to Nadila again.
Hi again. So one last thing that we want to talk about. So as you know, this is our end of year presentation for the 2025-2026 Harrisburg Youth Council year. However, this really just means that the 2026-2027 Harrisburg Youth Council year is right on the horizon. So right now, applications for the Youth Council are open. You can scan the QR code on the slideshow to learn more. But we're accepting applications from May 1st to May 31st, and the requirements to apply is that you have to be a 9th grader, 10th grader, 11th grader, or 12th grader, and you have to be a Harrisburg resident. I personally want to say we would love to have anyone in our Youth Council. We are very excited for this year and what's going to bring us, and we would love to welcome anyone and everyone into this experience with us. I think it's something that's really worth pursuing. It's made my high school experience a lot better as a whole, and it's a great way for someone to get involved in the community and learn more about the town itself. So if anyone's interested, you should let them know that they should apply. But that's the end of our presentation, so thank you. Any questions?
I say this every time you guys come to speak, but you all give me so much hope. You guys did such a fantastic job on this project and your presentations tonight. Also wanted to thank Jared again and Nikki Eskew, who serve on this committee. So round of applause for all of your efforts. Any questions? Everybody good? Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a tough act to follow, Rob.
Youth council to the middle-aged council. Yeah. Still mid.
Harsh.
If I make it to 90, it's middle. I'm halfway there. And also special thank you to Casey, who's back here again.
There she is.
First day back, if you guys haven't said hi to Casey, back from
Welcome back,
maternity leave.
Casey.
But, Casey did a great job of reorganizing the youth council when she came in. And, Jared's done an amazing job with them during the transition. And obviously Nicole did an amazing job as a volunteer advisor. I think that's an important thing to point out as well, is that, when we look at these kids and they do all of these great things, everybody around them that supports them from a staff standpoint, this is a career. We are fortunate to be serving our public as a career, but these kids are volunteering. Nicole's volunteering, and we have so many volunteers in the town, so it's always inspirational to see what they're able to do. And I hope they all go into public service and they come over here as a paid contributor to serving our community. Speaking of paid contributors to our community, it's my pleasure, Mayor and Council and community, to present the manager's recommended budget for fiscal year 2027. This year, our theme we call going from planning to performance. As you guys know, for several years, we've been setting lots of balls in motion and getting lots of things teed up, lots of projects there. And now we're really at that stage where we're making incremental improvement changes. Really think about efficiency, doing things again and again in iterations, and doing them a little bit better with our benchmarking, data, and analytics. Just as an overview, the budget process, although we start the public hearing process or the public outreach process of this in January, this really starts for us way back in November. Before we ever get to the January meeting, our staff has hundreds of hours starting in November, developing the capital improvement plan, identifying staffing needs and operating items. We then move forward into January, where we have that annual planning session, and we discuss with the council and the community, what are the priorities, what are the challenges for the upcoming year. We fast forward here to today. Between January and at the end of this meeting, we will have put in more than 24 hours of open public budget workshops to gather input and direction from y'all. And then finally, we take that and we put that into tonight's recommended budget, and that's intended to reflect all of the direction, all of the input we've gotten throughout the process from the staff, from the council, from the community, and we use that to say, how are we going to meet the needs of the community for the upcoming year? The budget's presented to the council in advance tonight, and we will have that public hearing in June, where the community will have the opportunity to comment, and ultimately we'll have the opportunity to adopt that budget. The requirements are pretty simple. North Carolina General Statutes lays that out. Municipalities are required to prepare these annual budgets and propose a plan for raising and spending money for all the programs, functions, activities, and objectives that we have for the upcoming fiscal year. Unlike Washington, we do have to present balanced budgets to y'all, where our revenues and expenses are equal. We cannot run deficits in local government. And our fiscal year runs from July 1 through June 30th of the following year. The budget officer, in your case, the town manager, is responsible for preparing, presenting, and then ultimately oversight of the budget to ensure the intent of the town council is followed throughout the budget year. We use a process of fund accounting where we really track money as it comes in and make sure it's spent on those proper things. So we really have three big categories that we can spend, or that we collect on, and that we can spend on. The general fund, those are our taxes. Everything, property, sales tax, revenue, go into that fund. We can then spend it on those core service items: public safety, streets, environmental services, engineering, general administration, parks and recreation. All of the general government things are funded by our base sales and property taxes. We then have enterprise funds, which operate just like private utilities. So these are public enterprises that are operated by the town. They are financed through the charges to customers, which may or may not be residents of the town. And we do not use any tax revenues for those operations. Those are funded purely by the customers that benefit from those enterprises. Water department, sewer fund, the stormwater fund, those are all enterprises funded wholly by the customers that they serve. And then the final category that we have are restricted funds. Those can be restricted by us internally, or they can be restricted externally. The externally restricted are things like grant project funds. If we get a grant from somebody for a project, we can't go and use that money on anything other than what they've restricted it to. PAL bill funding. We also have internal restrictions, capital reserve fund. So everything that we don't spend from the year before, anything that's underspent, which we try to push our staff to make sure that we do not exceed our budgets, that will roll into the capital reserve fund, and that is forever restricted to capital expenses. That can never then go back into operations, and we use that to fund things like roads and new fire stations and things that last long-term. Capital expenses. Equipment, buildings, anything more than $10,000 falls into that capital purchase. That helps us track those large expenses so that we can plan and prioritize and prepare for those big future expenses. When we build something, large, like a new building, fire station 2 is a good example of this, we generally are not going to be able to afford that with 1 year's worth of property taxes. We will save that up for multiple years and then expend it in an out year. So it's important that we have that 10-year capital improvement plan in conjunction with our financial models that project those future revenues and future expenses. Those tools allow the town to really understand what are the long-term outcomes for the budget, and we're not just looking at it in a vacuum and saying, what can we afford this year? We're looking to say, what can we afford every year for the next 10 years, and make sure that we're balancing the budgets all of those years. That continues to be a guide for this budget and for all our future financial decisions. Core priorities and objectives, the current and future needs of the town obviously are always the most important, and they're established in the budget, and we make sure that we meet those. Prioritizing public safety, transportation, and parks and recreation, making sure that we have top-notch services across the town has been a motto of ours, and we continue to abide by that. Maintaining those healthy reserve funds so that if opportunities do come up, we're able to capitalize them when those opportunities show. The next one we show here is just really those efficient methods for operating, always looking to reinvent. Just because we have an award-winning program in our town doesn't mean that we stop there. If we're in third place, we want to be in second next year and ultimately first at some point. So we're constantly looking to be more efficient and operate our departments while continuing to deliver those high-quality services. Always searching for the cost-saving methods and also new revenue generation, trying to make sure that we don't always just rely on those property tax revenues. Ultimately, all that kind of boils into ensuring the town is prepared to weather whatever unknowns come up. Inflation, labor and material shortages, or other economic fluctuations. The cost of oil and gas right now is one of those things that I think other towns that don't prepare as well are having some difficulties right now, but these are things that we kind of build in as contingencies, and we're able to weather those storms. And that allows us just strategically to be able to plan for the long-term success of the town. Everything that we do, all these decisions that we make, go through this filter of our vision, mission, values, and goals. We look at every one of these, and we look at our vision, and we say, okay, Harrisburg will be a distinctive, family-focused community where memories are made, and our mission is that together we enhance our quality of life by collaborating, planning, and investing to create our community of choice. Anything that we present from our departments to this board have already gone through that sieve to say, does this meet who we want to be and how we want to do it? So by the time we get to you guys, we've already worked that out. When we look back at what did we do this year? Well, in 2026, here are the wins that we established moving into 2027. On the transportation front, Highway 49 and the Caldwell Road extension, part of the $25 million worth of federal grants that we were able to secure. We moved those forward to the next stage of design for both of them. We also established a pavement management program, making sure that we're just doing the roads that need to be done, when they need to be done, in the way they need to be done. Our Public Works Department did a great job of presenting that pavement management program to you all. Designed sidewalk additions for Oakley and Woodside, as well as completing the Roberta and 49 congestion improvement studies, which ultimately have turned into a project to design the improvement there at Roberta and 49 so that we can get more vehicles around that intersection. We also will have completed by the end of the fiscal year the Cambridge Drive construction project connecting town center to our eastern neighborhoods. Communications. Addition of branded gateway signs on Rocky River Road. We all have seen the newest one there. It looks amazing, as well as the implementation of Quick Fix Harrisburg, which recently won NC3C award, was a top 3 for innovative websites. So another award for the town on that, and that's going amazing. Parks and Recreation opened the YMCA. That only took us 25 years, but we did get the YMCA opened in Harrisburg Park, and now we have access to 2 new basketball courts for our youth athletics programs. We also replaced 2 of our existing natural grass fields with the largest contiguous artificial turf field complex in Cabarrus County. Just opened that a few weeks ago. In addition to that, we're full steam ahead on the 4th of July celebration for our 250th anniversary of the independence of our nation. So stay tuned for all the great things that we have coming there. We upgraded the Harrisburg Park playground equipment, and we were able to replace the baseball, softball netting system at Stallings Park. In the public safety, added more UTVs and carts for a rapid off-road response and event management. As we expand our events and we expand our greenways, we're patrolling and providing public safety to places that we're not used to providing public safety. It's not just all of the common places of streets and public facilities. Now we're off-road a little bit more. So added all of those carts and UTVs, as well as continued to train and recruit for fire department personnel through our internal Harrisburg Fire Academy, replaced special operations trailers, and we also were awarded the North Carolina Department of Labor Gold Safety Award for our fire department this year, the first time in the history of the town. Human resources wouldn't be outdone. They were just as busy this year, making Harrisburg the first in Cabarrus County to achieve the Heart Safe Workplace designation. Awarded the 2026 North Carolina League of Municipalities Risk Control Safety Grant. And Harrisburg was also named the healthiest employer in North Carolina amongst all employees, public or private, for our category. Huge accomplishments, and our team is doing a great job in 2026. Finance and Customer Service submitted the first ever annual comprehensive financial report to GFAO's Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting program. Brian made sure that he put plenty of words in there for me to stump over. But we've been working towards this for a while. This is an important goal of ours, and we have submitted it for that for the first time. Continue to refine the town-owned solid waste cart rollout procedures and maintenance now that we own and operate our own carts. And we streamlined the utility account setup process for our new residents. The Economic Development Department doubled in size this year, from 1 to 2 employees, adding Stephanie to Ryan as the Economic Development Manager. And we also launched the Building and Site database. So go on the website and you can look at every available property that we have access to on our database there on the website. We completed the Duke Energy Site Readiness Program for Moorhead West. So now we have hundreds of acres over there that we have a ton of data on that we can market out for larger industrial commercial users in that area. The Planning and Zoning Department, they were able to continue to work towards our tree preservation ordinance, which we think will wrap up this year. Finish the first half of the UDO updates. We all got together in our meeting and were able to identify what needs to be changed. And now, by the end of this year, we're thinking September, October, we plan to have the actual UDO ready to be adopted end of the year. No pressure for our staff. We also began the One Harrisburg Comprehensive Plan. So you guys know we've been out in the public. We almost 16 hours of our staff going out into the neighborhoods, into the HOAs, out there getting feedback, and we've had record community engagement, which ultimately resulted in the completion of our community survey with glowing results. Getting top-notch feedback on public safety, on quality of life, and ultimately just being a great place to live. We're really proud of those efforts, and we look forward to implementing that as we move forward. Now, 2027, what's in this year's budget? So the same things we went through from a department standpoint. On our public safety, we're continuing to invest in safety and quality by replacing the self-contained breathing apparatus replacements. We also have new 5 gas. That's not 5 new gas. It measures 5 gas monitors and extrication tools. This is really just to give our frontline employees the best equipment to get in and do their job. They're out there, trying to get people out of very dangerous situations, and having the right equipment to help them do that, to keep them safe as they're keeping our residents safe is a top priority of ours. Continuing the training and certifications to maintain our Swiftwater Rescue Team as a state asset designation. Not only are we able to serve our residents here, we're able to deploy out and help our neighbors in their time of need, and that's an important thing for us. Continuing to increase our traffic enforcement programming and refining our crime prevention approach with the Harrisburg Deputy Division. On the transportation side of things, continue that safety and modal improvements on the 49 and Caldwell as we continue to extend Caldwell up from 49 to 29. Installing art, signage, and landscaping in the existing roundabouts in Stallings Road, and the design, as I'd mentioned earlier, of the Roberta and Highway 49 traffic mitigation, which you can see in the bottom picture there of creating an access road to bypass the intersection to go from the intersection of Main Street and 49 behind Publix to Veterans Extension. Parks and Recreation will be expanding parking at Stallings Park. You guys have seen the earthwork happen out there as we convert the old retention basin into additional parking. We now have to go and finish that off now that we've done the earthwork to make the expanded parking there for everybody that's visiting Stallings Park. Completing the design of the historic mill site, continuing to expand our very robust townwide greenway system, and also the, after much conversation at one of our budget meetings, complete the design of Main Street Park and streetscape and bring that back to council so that we can decide on a final project there. And Human Resource will be in charge once we adopt this budget of implementing a new retiree medical benefit and establishing our mentorship and succession planning program. Our planning department finalizing those UDO updates that I saw Councilman Fall peek up at me at when I mentioned, and adopt and implement the One Harrisburg Comprehensive Plan. Communications is going to do a brand refresh, get back into it. It's been a few years since we've really got into our brand. We love our brand, we love our logo, we love our colors, but we do need to refresh the brand, and also just create some additional brands that we can use in other capacities. So engaging the Citizens Academy is something that has become very important to us. And then, as you guys saw earlier, our Youth Academy is something we'll continue and we'll expand on, and looking to get a charter soon. The Economic Development Department will be expanding into workforce development and entrepreneurship support. And finally, to our variables and challenges. Every year, our budget presents us with certain challenges. This year, no different. Strong residential growth is a double-edged sword that results in expanded service needs, especially in public safety, parks, and infrastructure. These are areas where we have very high standards, and as we continue to have greater strains on that, we need to make sure that we're expanding those services in a way that do not deteriorate the facilities or the services that we provide. We also have a lot of uncertainty around state legislative issues. The property tax levy limits and revenue caps, as you saw earlier in the presentation, this is our main revenue source for the three things we just talked about: public safety, parks, and infrastructure. So that could significantly impact our long-term local revenue, and we're keeping our eye closely on that. We'll also move in with a little bit more of a renewed focus on our economic development in order to offset some of those challenges. So supporting our local business and diversifying our tax base is the ultimate solution to that, so that we lower our reliance on property taxes by adding more industrial and commercial development. Almost $1 million in unavoidable costs in this year's budget, as you outline them here, the largest of which water purchases and sewer treatment costs. Those are passed along from the City of Concord, where we purchase water, and the Water and Sewer Authority of Cabarrus County, where we pay for water treatment, wastewater treatment. That's $336,000 in costs that will be increased and we'll have to pass along to our customers. Deputy compensation, that is not something that we can control or the board can control. That comes from the county. That'll be about $175,000. The national crisis that is healthcare cost increases is almost $240,000 for our employees alone. This is not an increase in any type of service or healthcare, new healthcare insurance for our employees. This is the same thing that we've done, and it's just $240,000 more, as we've seen healthcare reach into the double digits multiple years in a row on increases really nationwide. We also have smaller impacts, street lighting increases, state mandated pension increases, all of this really adding up to about $1 million that a year that we have to find efficiencies to work those out in the budget to stay with the same tax rate. Speaking of tax rate and tax dollars, where did the property taxes go? At the end of the day, most of the people in this room, most of the people watching at home, I get a tax bill, what are you spending it on? I pay $4,000 a year, where does that money go? Well, this is a great breakdown. This is on our website. We'll provide this throughout budget season and post-budget season to continue to educate our residents. If your tax bill is $4,000, the vast majority of that does not come to the town. 1,663 of that comes to the town for our services. Of that 1,663, 554 of that goes to the fire department. Just a little less than a third of the entire property tax goes over to fire and EMS services, with second, law enforcement. As you would expect, $326 of that goes to providing law enforcement. And third, parks and recreation. Again, I don't think it's any surprise, the three things that we've talked about prioritizing at $302 goes over to park and recreations. And then streets and solid waste, trash, recycling, limb pickup, grass pickup, leaves, $149 for streets, $124 for environmental protection, and then all the other services that we mentioned, from finance, human resources, engineering, planning, administrative services, the town council, everything else that we do is $208. So of that $4,000 tax bill, $1,663 to the town, split up as you see here. We also had a discussion about our impact from the town standpoint on affordability. You know, we know housing prices have risen dramatically over the past 4 or 5 years, and if you look at somebody moving into our community, the average home value of $550,000, if they were to get a conventional mortgage at a competitive rate at 5.6, the monthly payment, escrows and everything in there, would be about $2,917. And so we take a look at what impact do we have on that, and what can we do from a town to make sure that we're giving the best value and also not contributing to the affordability crisis throughout the country. We're 6% of the total monthly payment for property taxes in Harrisburg. Of that $2,917, $187 of that comes to the town to pay for fire and emergency medical and police and patching the potholes and the roads and picking up the trash and doing the parks and rec, and all of those things are covered in that $187. And we went through this exercise, and it bears repeating in here. What could we do to adjust that? Well, if we eliminated our entire funding for all police, eliminate all 29 deputies that we have serving here for the town, that's about a $4 million hit, and that comes out on this to, you know, about a $60 cut to, or I'm sorry, about a $40 cut to the total payment. So instead of $2,917 a month, you're paying $2,880 a month approximately if we were to just eliminate public safety. Now, we wouldn't, right? Public safety would be one of the last things we'd eliminate, but let's say it's parks. You say, okay, we could live without parks, so we sold every park we had and we got rid of every park employee and we didn't do youth athletic. It's about the same. It's about $4.5 million, and it does about the same thing. You save, you know, $40, $50 a month, but you're still paying $2,850. And I think one of the most striking things that when we went through this analysis that I like to point out is, for about the same cost as it is to insure the house, $172 is what it costs now to insure a house of that value. For about the same amount that Geico charges you to insure hail damage on your roof, we're providing 29 police officers with all the vehicles, all the equipment, 24/7, even on Christmas, 54 firefighters showing up no matter what happens, any time of day, any time of night, maintaining over 100 miles of roadways, hundreds of miles of storm sewers, maintaining our parks, cutting the roadways. Everything that you think of when you think of the town of Harrisburg is covered for about the cost that Allstate charges you to tell you they're not going to cover your roof when you call them. So, you know, that's, for me, that's a pretty good value. I think it's important to keep that in mind. Not that housing affordability is not an issue, it certainly is, and it's something we want to keep at the forefront, but it's not an affordability of tax issue. I think it's a really affordability of what is the principle of a house. You know, houses have gone up dramatically, and interest rates have doubled or tripled in some cases. So combine those interest fees with the principal, and that's really the lion's share of the affordability issue. On the front of our mind, but we can't really have a lot of impact on it with our property taxes. It's another way of just kind of visualizing where does your dollar go. We also like to say, how do we compare? Where are we compared to everybody else on all our fees and our taxes? So we have one of the lowest tax rates for full-size communities in the area. And when you add our fees and everything and everybody else's, again, we stay very competitive, being lower than Concord, lower than Kannapolis, very comparable to Mount Pleasant, and moderately higher than Locust and Charlotte, who just are different beasts all in of themselves. So the big picture general fund overview for the fiscal 27 budget, this has been prepared maintaining the existing tax rate for the second year in a row. No tax increase is being recommended after a 2.5 cent tax rate decrease 2 years ago. So this would be the third year in a row of either a decrease or zero increase. Service levels are expected to remain consistent with the current delivery year, which is extremely high. We'll increase our economic development efforts, increase our planning and community development efforts, and continue to invest heavily in public safety. A few new budget request examples are those focuses on long-term economic development, some of our transportation improvements, and investment in acquisition and expansion of our parks. When you look at the pie chart of what comes in, about 61% of our revenues come from the property taxes, with 32% being sales tax and everything else being kind of moderate and in between single digits. Over time, as you've looked at our property tax rates, you can see here what I had discussed of the tax decrease there at 24-25, keeping it last year at 41, and then keeping it again for the next year at 41. And we would anticipate to keep that through the next revaluation. General fund expenses, 32% of every dollar that comes in is going right out into fire and EMS services, with 14% to deputies, 17% to our parks and recs, 9% in the solid waste and streets. Everything else tends to be in that single-digit nominal area. Nearly 46% of every dollar spent on public safety. You can see the split between fire and deputies there. Requesting no full-time positions, only the reclassification of one parks employee, and then adding 2 part-time park attendants so that we can have more full-time service, especially on the weekends in our parks, to be able to clean up and make shelters available. $2.1 million in capital projects expected, 1-year capital projects in our operation funds. Those things, fire vehicles and equipment, greenways, pedestrian connectivity improvements, as well as vehicle replacements across the board. When we look at that 10-year financial model in the general fund, we start to see a decrease in that capital reserve fund that I talked about earlier. Think of that as our savings account for all the big projects that we have coming. But if you look at the green line here, that shows you the cumulative capital that we have funded over that time. And what this really shows us is we're keeping everything in good shape. We're not deferring maintenance. We're not letting things fall apart. Nearly $70 million in capital expenses over 10 years in the general fund, fully paid for without any debt service on our financial model. There's a good look at what does that 41-cent tax rate mean for you, depending on the value of your asset. This is the typical tax bill that comes to the town. In the water and sewer fund, back to our enterprises, service delivery again, remaining constant, consistent, high quality. We adopted in 2023 an ordinance to make incremental annual increases. We were in a process prior to that where we would see 0, 0, 0, 20%, and then customers would get very upset with that. Why are we waiting until you need 20% to come and raise my rate? So moderate annual increases. This year we're recommending 5% water and sewer rate increase. That's really in line with water purchases from the city of Concord, are expected to go up 4 to 5%. Sewer treatment, 5.1% has already been passed along to us. And then we are taking on principal and interest of approximately $440,000 for the plant expansion at the Water and Sewer Authority as well. About $500,000 total in the one-year capital budget for water and sewer. And then, as you would expect, 96% of the revenue for water and sewer comes in from customers. Nearly $12 million as we look out over that 12-year and making sure that we're staying on top of our facilities and keeping everything in good shape. Stormwater, another utility. A lot of people, I love to put this slide in because every time we talk about stormwater every year, everybody goes, oh, flood. Like, yeah, my backyard floods or the creeks are flooding. However, our stormwater program is not a flood control program. This is meant to comply with the Clean Water Act, specifically Phase 2 of the Clean Water Act, which requires municipalities to maintain their municipal separated storm sewer system, MS4s, through these 6 minimum control measures: public outreach, public education, illicit discharge, making sure people aren't putting things into the sewer that aren't supposed to be there, construction site runoffs, as they build all these things around us, that the sediment isn't getting into our streams and rivers. As we build neighborhoods, the ponds, sand filters, things that you see in there are part of that post-construction runoff. And then ultimately the pollution prevention and good housekeeping, making sure that things we're doing aren't contributing to polluting the water as well. So as we wash our fire trucks, as we clean out the vehicles at Public Works, we capture that, we recycle that, and we make sure that we maintain the tires and the oil changes and all the chemicals in a good housekeeping manual. When we look at stormwater as it goes out over time, we really try to focus on that one more on the 5-year model. So you'll see this kind of go up and then flatten out. But the same thing here, making sure that our facilities stay in great shape without any debt service. The total one-year capital is the $150,000 that we do on spot improvements throughout the town. We also have some fee schedule changes, very moderate, but in Parks and Recreation, you guys are seeing a recommended increase for non-resident athletics. Our residents will stay the same. We already talked about water and sewer rate increases, but we're also eliminating the service deposit in that department. And then for stormwater, a new illicit discharge violation fee. So if we do catch people dumping things into the sewer that shouldn't be there, we do have some violation fees to be able to remediate that issue. In short, total proposed fiscal 27 general fund expenditures of about $36.3 million. That is $1.1 million or 2.9% less than the fiscal 26 budget. We're really happy to be able to offer a decrease in that. That's becoming rarer and rarer. The 3 main operating funds, if we combine general fund, water and sewer, and storm, account for $51.9 million in proposed spending in fiscal 27. That's just a little over $1 million less than fiscal 26, so that's a 2% decrease in total spending. Keep that compared to the municipal cost index, which for the trailing 12 months is 3.9%. So in order to achieve that 2.9% decrease, our staff, who is second to none, had to achieve about a 6.8% efficiency gain this year in order to go down 2.9% and overcome the 3.9% municipal cost index pressures. That's really hard to do. Last year we did a 4.9% all funds decrease, so this will be the second year in a row that we're able to reduce spending back to back in an environment that is very tough to do it in. Our 3 largest investments: transportation improvements, public safety, and parks. $8.4, $12, and $9 million invested in all 3 of those programs. At the end of the budget process, we will have had a thorough, transparent, and I hope engaging process. We've had after the next meeting, we will have over 25 hours of public engagement for people to come and tell us what they think about our budget. We're proposing to maintain the existing tax rate of 41 cents per 100, maintain all the same service levels, and continue to provide everything at a really high level. And we're also meeting our adopted vision, mission, values, and goals throughout the process. The recommended budget will be made available after tonight's meeting. It'll be on the website. It'll be up here for inspection. Anybody can contact Janet here at Town Hall and get a copy of that if they need to. We anticipate having adoption at the June 8th meeting, where we'll have a public hearing followed by a recommended vote. I appreciate you sticking in there for that. I will take any questions at this time.
providing this. I know we had, quick turnaround time after we met on the 30th. And so under capital projects fund transportation notable changes, there's 9.3 for addition of Highway 49 under Roberta mitigation. I thought we only approved the design of it. How come it seems like the full amount is in there?
Where are you referencing it at, in the binder
Page 82.
of the MRB?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that's more of an accounting issue, Brian. So he's booking the entire amount of the project and it rolls annually. So I don't, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I mean, we'll only spend a portion of the design now, but because it's a grant award, we anticipate future revenue and we anticipate future spending all as one single project.
Okay, so you're adding the grant money that we will be receiving for it. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Another question, and this is partially probably for Brian. So a couple of things that I had. As far as the facade program funding, during the budget exercise, we had sort of a slight approval there. It was like 4-3 to expand the program funding from 50 to 100,000. However, when our spreadsheets were completed and the discussion took place during the meeting, we learned that this program actually operates differently, where at the end of the year, if the money is not spent, it doesn't go to the capital, it goes to accumulate in its own fund. And we've also learned that there's about 400,000 sitting in there. So basically 8 years worth of the facade program. And in my 5 years that I've been here, this last project that came in was like the first one that I've seen, and it was only 8,000. So I think that given that there's so much money is already accumulated in this program, I want to, and I was not aware of it, and I would like to rescind my support from it, and that would bring it to 3-4. But if you all want to kind of.
What's currently in there? Do we have the
It's
50 or the
currently
100?
at 50, and
Okay.
we said, let's increase it to 100, and I noticed that's what's in the budget. And I don't think we need to do that at this point because we already have 400 sitting there. That would mean that businesses would have to do like 800,000 worth of facade work for us to even use up that money. So I don't see why we need to be putting 100,000 into it every year.
And to be clear, we wouldn't be putting any revenue into it.
Right.
The revenue's already sitting there. You'd be authorizing how much of that 400 are you willing
Yeah.
to spend in 1 year?
And I think the council is open to authorizing more if we need
Mm-hmm.
to, even more than the budgeted, but I think
Yeah.
50 is more than enough, given this additional information about how this fund
Yeah,
works.
We have, from a staff standpoint, we have no issue with 50. That's
Okay.
perfectly fine. It's really
And the other
up to the
thing
board.
is, prior to that meeting, I had requested a list of our budgetary programs so that we have a better idea of exactly how they work. I haven't received it yet, so I'd like to have that, the full list, including caveats, footnotes, as far as, what are the provisions, if there is any special, like with this fund where apparently it just kind of stays in there and accumulates. So I'd like to know that. And I'm sure if the entire council knows that, they would, be making more informed decisions. The other thing I do want to bring up is the town hall park proposal that we were discussing. So there were several issues that I had with that. So I would like to make sure that I address that. First, we are already experiencing significant traffic at that intersection 49 and Roberta Veterans. We actually are putting so much money into designing the work and going to be doing additional work to improve that. But then, on the other hand, at the same time, we're going to be blocking Main Street. So I feel like this is, we really need to be more thoughtful about it, and I don't think it's a good idea to be closing that additional way of for people to drive through to avoid the traffic. I just don't think it's a wise proposal, and I would strongly encourage serious reconsideration of closing Main Street. The second is since we have approved the 700,000, and this was over 2 years ago, and since this last budget meeting, in one of the emails, we learned that apparently a substantial portion of it was already spent on the design. And I want to ensure that this money is not wasted. I feel like we need to have the opportunity to review that design so that we can provide substantial, we can provide some input before any additional funds are committed to this. Third, based on the size of the proposed space, it really, to me, appears that it's about half of the size of the Veterans Park. And I just do not believe that it will efficiently support meaningful park activities. I feel like a few benches and like 5 families, and then after that, it's gonna feel crowded. This will be a significant investment, and council should really consider truly what we're trying to accomplish here. This space would not realistically support activities such as children playing ball or community gatherings, or even comfortable recreational use once like a moderate number of people gathers there. The fourth issue with that is that in regards to the town center overall, we do not own the surrounding undeveloped land. So while we may have some influence in regard on what gets built there, we don't know exactly what the seller or the builder will bring us. So we don't know, and we can't affect the timing of it as well. So creating this attractive space and spending so much money on it, I feel like without knowing what ultimately will be developed around it, I think that it may be a little bit too soon for that. It won't serve the residents well. And finally, I would like to see this area become more attractive, so I definitely want to see that designed and see what's been kind of done to it. However, I think this current proposal really needs to be fundamentally rethought. And I also want to be, I want to encourage everyone to be disciplined with the funds, especially given this current environment where towns may be more restricted with the state legislature as far as what we can do with our budget. So those were my issues with that.
So do we have 100 or 50 in for the facade currently? 50. So that one's already taken care of. We made
Okay.
that adjustment
Awesome.
between the last meeting and this one. The second was the kind of footnoted fund allocation and fund details. We'll get that out to the entire group. The third being the park and whether or not we cut through and things like that. We discussed that, as you know, ad nauseum at the last meeting. Ultimately, whatever the board wants to do, we'll do, but we have had this conversation, not just on Main Street. We've had it when we were talking about the neighborhoods all around, not just this neighborhood. Are we willing to create cut-throughs to neighborhoods for the sake of traffic, or are we not? And the direction that we've all decided, and I think it's a very good direction, is that we're not going to impact existing neighborhoods by continuing to push additional traffic through there. We've looked at 3, 4, 5 different areas. If that's going to be different here, that's okay. We're allowed to make exceptions, but I think that you have to make that exception then. We have to say, Main Street's different, town center's different. We want people getting through here quicker, but that again, fundamentally changes that project. If the entire board wants to change that, then we'll do whatever the board tells us to do. As far as the email and the expenditures of what's been put towards design, that money has not been fully spent. That's just that's misleading. But you guys will have the opportunity to look. It would be foolish if we would not have brought the renderings that we brought to you guys when we brought them before we went and spent that money. So, that is astute of you to look at that and say, hey, before we go spending that much on a design we're not all on board with, I would want to look at it. That's exactly what we did. We stopped at a good stopping point before we spent a lot of money and said, hey, this is a major design. Let's talk to our board and see what you guys think. And I think you do see some diversity of thought on that. Ultimately, where we left it at the last meeting was continue with the project as is with the $780,000 that we have appropriated towards it, continue to design. Once we get to the schematic, let's bring it back before we get into detailed design. Don't waste money on detailed design until we've had that second conversation. So that's our plan. If you want us to change that, I guess, as a board, please, give me that feedback between now and the next meeting, and we can stop the current project, but we don't have any additional monies allocated to it at this time. I think that hit all of them, right?
I'll make a comment. So in terms of the facade improvement plan, I think it's great. I'm glad that we didn't increase it, and I think that because now we have an economic development officer, and because of the conversation, it's. Thanks, I turned it off. So I'll just repeat what I said. So I think that I'm glad that we're not, and if we have that much money waiting, sitting, I think we should use it wisely. But I also think that because we have an economic development officer, I think it's going to be used more, right? And so I think it's that from the conversations, there's going to be a more intentional effort to reach out to businesses to use it. So I would like to see the number of new businesses, or not new businesses, the current businesses that will be using those funds, because maybe next year we may come back and say, you know what, it's picking up, we may need it, and to invest in that, because we want our town to look the same, right? We want it to look uniform, like we're expecting the new companies coming in to look a certain way. So I think that it might be useful, maybe not this year, but I think we can revisit it next year.
Yeah, I think we'll be surprised. It's a good strategy, leave it at 50. We've not hit 50 ever. I do think between what Ryan and Stephanie do, they're knocking a lot of doors. They talk to a lot of people. We just have a lot more leads in order to do this. And now that we're doing a few, that catches on. I do think we'll go over it, and I think when we bring those to you, like everything else, if it's a good project and it kind of meets our standards, then we'll get additional funding for it. And we can communicate that out once we get close to 50. If somebody comes to us and says, hey, I had an idea, if we like it, we'll price it out and we'll bring it to the board and we'll add it there. But I agree, I think it's gonna take off.
Yeah, that Moorhead Center update, that was really beautiful.
Yeah.
But do we have any safeguards in place there? Like, let's say somebody built something 3 years ago and they're gonna come in and they're gonna say, oh, I wanna improve it. Like, what's the timeline? Like, how old does it need to be before we?
There are program guidelines. I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but we can get you program guidelines.
Okay.
And there's a committee that reviews it, even just for the eyeball test, right? It's like,
Right.
yeah, does this make any sense? Are you backdooring some other improvement into a true facade
Yeah.
grant? So
Yeah.
it is built
Okay.
to eliminate that, and we can get you that info.
Not to beat a dead horse. Bring it in. On that park,
You love it too?
yeah, I expressed my concerns last meeting, probably more so than some expected. You mentioned that we have the 700 allocated towards it. That was established last year?
This year, yeah. I mean, we're still in.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's there, so there's no increased or extra funding at this time. That's been pulled back, and that money is just parked, correct?
Yeah.
What do we anticipate spending for just preliminary drawing to get us to another discussion?
From the discussions we've had to the next one, I think almost nothing. I mean, we've already gotten a schematic back, so, I mean, I don't know how many hours were spent on the consultant on that, but not more than a day or two, so.
I was just curious what we had spent of that 700 and what would remain, but if we've not spent it, then it could.
Yeah, I mean, a good portion of that goes to detailed design. We can get those numbers of wherever the engineering is on it, but you don't want to go full bore into a design for this exact reason, right? If you don't have board support on something that's not exactly what it was when you looked at it the first time, then you slow down.
So if you've allocated it, it could sit there indefinitely, correct? Or do you have a time window on that?
It expires automatically after 4 years.
After 4 years?
If we don't renew.
Okay. So you, in theory, you could revisit it every year, see if the appetite changes, if the appetites one way or the other, what have you.
Yep.
Wasn't it approved in '24, like
Thought it was
before
2 years
COVID?
ago, yeah.
Was it? Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah. And us bringing it up every time, does that extend the 4-year thing?
Well, I think we,
Yeah, just
from
start.
that.
yeah,
Like
when-
bill
if we, yes, if we reapprove it, it does restart that. I think the significant part of that one was it started under ARPA. ARPA had an expiration. We swapped it with, some fire equipment. That way we could spend that down. There's also some lighting component that we have to rely on Duke Energy because we want them to ultimately maintain it. So there's a lead time on that, which we did first. And we're like, you know what, we're doing really well on this budget. What does the final design look like? And then it's really kind of focused into that Main Street, core rather than going very lineal. And you can go very lineal, you can go core. I think both of those are exclusive if you want it to be a cut through though. I think whether you close Main Street or you narrow Main Street and you allow lineal parks in front of the businesses with outdoor dining and walking, both of those make driving 35, 40 miles an hour down Main Street dead in the water. We would put stop signs at every intersection. We would put raised crosswalks. We would light it. We would narrow it. You'd be getting through 15 miles an hour through there. I mean, it becomes unsafe now when you get by percent on Thursday through Saturday at night, specifically, after 4 o'clock. We've got close calls that call us all the time currently. So inviting more pedestrian traffic to your downtown and expecting it to be a 49 bypass, I think if you truly want to prioritize the traffic, then don't narrow the road. Keep it widened, keep it kind of separated, get rid of the Main Street idea altogether. If you want to do something on Main Street, we do have 2 choices. We can narrow it and go lineal and go up and down, or you can kind of create that central park and then create some lineal pathways to it so that people can get from the businesses to the park to kind of enjoy our outdoor spaces.
Did the wiring ever get adjusted to where we could do the lighting correctly in there?
Yep. Yeah, we've continued to kind of move from 49 up Key, and now we have a good launching point right there at Key and Main to kind of expand east and west on Main.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any other comments for Rob? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We will move into the public comment portion of this evening. Just a couple housekeeping items. Anyone wishing to address town council may do so. We did have a sign-up sheet. Please be sure to state your name and address for the record. Be courteous. We do have several folks signed up to speak, so in order to be respectful of everyone's time, you've got 3 minutes. You may not defer time to another speaker. If you do exceed 3 minutes, we ask that you just send any additional information to us at council@harrisburgnc.gov. That comes to all of us. And we will start with, I believe it's Amos McClory.
Good evening. Before I start into my comments, I'm glad to be here, and this is an exciting city council. Very thorough, Mr. City Manager.
If you could just state your name and address for the record for us.
My name is Amos L. McClory. I live at 1413 Cooper Avenue in the city of Kannapolis, North Carolina. I work for the oldest civil rights organization in the nation. Currently a board director for the NAACP here from the state of North Carolina. My office has gotten a lot of calls because of what's happening right here in the city of Harrisburg. And those calls are concerned with what I see here, so I came to see for myself tonight that this council, and congratulations on you winning your election in the last 6 months, and those of you who are continuing your election from the years before that. And what I came to see was how you all are announced and addressed in your position that you hold for the city. And I'm glad to see that the mayor has a title. The city manager has a title, assistant city manager has a title, and the attorney has a title. So my question is, what happened? And maybe I can get an answer of what happened, because I'm gonna make a report tonight on what I see, not what I hear, to my board, and they will make a report at 9 o'clock in the morning to the national board, what's happening in Harrisburg, why we don't see the mayor pro tem. See, is that something due to a rule change? Is that something due to an oversight? Or is that something that we would like to have some kind of explanation on when I make my report, why you eliminate that position? If the mayor steps out of this room, does either one of you all get to take the position and continue the meeting at a city if she had to go somewhere? Who runs this office or runs this council in her absence? So that's my question, and I'd like to hear from someone who already has a title as to why we don't have that in this city. And you don't have to do it now. Just send it to me. I left my address on there, but we'd like to have something in writing so we can go back and report to the state of North Carolina as to why the rule changed, or if it's a rule change, if it's something that went through the General Assembly, or where did it come from that position is no longer announced when a visitor like me comes in and I'm looking for who's who in this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Rosa Sims.
Good afternoon. It's good to see y'all again. We are beginning to be old friends here. Rosa Culver Sims. I am a resident of Harrisburg. You know, the only question I have is, there was a decision that was made by this body that Dr. Makes would be mayor pro tem. That was a unanimous decision. Is there some reason we're trying to keep that decision private? It's not publicly known because it's not on the website. It's not publicly known when someone walks in because it's not on her name tag. Are we trying to hide that decision? Now, I know you're not gonna answer me now, but that's what it feels like. The decision's been made, but we don't want anybody to know that we made that decision. I don't know if you have been requested not to do it, so therefore we're not going to make it public, or if there's some other reason. But if we've got to do Groundhog Day, like I said, for the rest of the year, I guarantee you I will be back next month.
Thank you, Ms. Sims. Johanna Bacco.
Good evening. Am I still on? Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Johanna Bacco, 824 Juanita Drive, Concord. And I'm here in support of Dr. Aaron Banks being recognized as Mayor Pro Tem. One of the main reasons is I witnessed her personally working hard on her campaign, visiting residents of Harrisburg, speaking to them, talking about her platform, her qualifications, but more importantly, listening to their concerns and answering questions. And she did that tirelessly, and that was the results that we see, that she was the highest vote getter. So I know you all, as I'm sitting through your budget meeting, have a lot of issues in this growing community to address, very, very important ones. Whoops. And this is a very, very important one, but this one can be quickly fixed by respecting the vote of your Harrisburg citizens, respecting the hard work of Dr. Aaron Banks of getting out there and campaigning and earning that vote and that title, and honoring your president of awarding the top vote getter with that title in chambers and on the website. So I ask that you honor those votes and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Carson Bailey.
Hello, can you hear me? Hi, Mayor and Council. Good evening. My name is Carson Bailey. I live at 3946 Melissa Drive in Harrisburg, and grateful to be here. This is my first time.
Welcome.
I've lived in Harrisburg for a couple years. I hope that this has maybe been brought up before, but I just kind of wanted to put out my plea. My husband and I and our 3 dogs, we frequent the local businesses in the town center, and we live 1 mile away. We cannot walk here. So we live right off of Roberta, and I occasionally jog that route, but I prefer not to, because we all know the traffic is getting faster and faster around that blind corner. I am begging for there to be some consideration on a sidewalk. We would love to walk to the local businesses instead. I would like to be able to exercise safely without having to drive to the Harrisburg Park, which of course I love, but sometimes it would just be more convenient to leave the house and do that. And then lastly, I have seen an increase in people frequenting that route, which is just walking on the grass and then of course over the bridge. And a lot of it is employees from the neighborhoods that are walking to work at those businesses. And it's just not safe. And I think being able to connect the nearby neighborhoods would really benefit the local businesses and the community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey.
Can I ask,
Yeah.
Rob, is that something that we have been studying, or?
It's on the other
kind
side of the bridge too, going that direction.
That was going to be my follow-up question, is where is this to and from? I mean, Roberta, where? That's all right. Come right on back up. We did have.
So Melissa is, so as you cross the bridge on Roberta, it's on the, let's see, right-hand side. It's the 2nd Street on the right.
It's right past Riverside. I pulled it up, so that's why I was looking.
Yeah, so before you get to the curve.
Gotcha. Yeah, that would take some coordination. There's kind of 3 jurisdictions, which is why it's not there. It goes from us to Concord, but the road is DOT. So there's kind of 3 different agreements. That's probably why it's kind of not been looked at. But just north of there, we do have, Providence. So, yeah, we can look at it and see.
Okay.
But that's probably why it has been kind of off the radars, just because it's a weird, jigsaw type of shape there with the annexation boundaries. So I think that section is technically DOT and Concord, which is why it's never been on our
I'll
radar.
have to go to Concord City Council too, make sure that they.
Okay,
they
I'll go there
know.
next.
But it's a much shorter walk to our downtown than Concord's downtown. So I agree with you. I think that probably is a good area to look at next.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Wally Wallace.
Chris Ball and Mayor, would y'all please come up front? My name is Wally Wallace. I live at 3093 Spring Forest Road, Harrisburg, North Carolina. As many of you know, I've spent a lot of time in the military, and I do a lot of volunteer work with soldiers and veterans. And we, out of Fort Bragg, it's called Association of United States Army. Like Chris, if you would stand here. And we support families, we support the veterans, active duty, and their families. And we appreciate people who support those folks. And I'm here tonight. Chris Ball and his wife, Kathy, have done that. Last month, Chris was awarded a certificate and what have you by the 4-star general retired that's the CEO CEO of our organization. And the thing he said to Chris was, he said, Chris, that's gold, but it's, since we're a nonprofit, he said, it ain't real gold.
It's crypto.
It's crypto. Anyway, what I'd like to do is to present this to Chris in front of the entire council. Mayor, you move on in here. And it simply says, Associated United States Army Certificate of Appreciation awarded to Christopher Fall and Kathy in honor of your service to the AUSA Fort Bragg and North Carolina chapter, signed by General Brown, President and CEO, as well as the region president, Rhonda Sutton. Chris, I'd like to present this to you and your wife for all that you've done to help us and show our appreciation. Okay? In addition to that, no money. Okay? No money.
Refund. All sales final.
No money. But we have what's called, in the Army, you get coins when you do something good. And this is our AUSA coin. And if you would get a picture of that, please. Did you get my good side? That's really valued. A lot of times it's more important, it's valued more than an actual medal that goes on your chest. Now, since I don't have a medal to put on your chest, I do have a pin similar to mine right here, just like mine, that you can wear anywhere and anytime you want to. Folks, let's give Chris a hand. I'm done.
Almost as long as me, Wally.
Say again?
So you're almost as long as me.
Moving right along, we have consent agenda. Is there a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. Now we'll move into our communications section, and first up we have Rob again.
All right, another 40 minutes. Everybody buckle in. Now, a couple of quick updates. Before I get the update, I did want to answer at least two of the public speakers, Miss Rosa and Miss Joanne. We already answered Ms. Carson's, but the website update for Mayor Pro Tem, unless I'm missing something, let me know. But I mean, it's been updated for quite some time. So again, I'm happy to get with you after the meeting, but from a website standpoint and a staff standpoint, that is updated and it has been. So if there's anything in addition that.
Yeah, let me keep doing that. Well, yeah, it has been updated. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. It's been updated and it states that, but the question was, Rob, and I said it over the phone to you and in an email, I said that we were asking, I was asking for it to be the way that it has been the last 15 years, and it was not like that.
Oh, that's been changed since our conversation.
Well, I checked today and it hasn't been, unless you changed it before this meeting, because I checked it at 12 noon, and it does not say that on the website.
Yeah, it's a couple weeks ago.
No,
So, I mean,
no.
well, yeah, if that's an error,
I just
we'll look
checked it
at that.
today, so
but-
I'll look at it again.
But
'cause
Lee and
I
I
wanna
worked
make
on
sure.
that specifically after
Okay.
your and I phone call same
Yes,
day.
yeah. And it's
um,
not on, it's not listed where, it's not listed by my name as I specifically said and how it has been in the past. So it's that I know it's not right. It's not there.
Yeah, we'll check on that, but to my understanding, I mean, it says, your name, Councilwoman, and Mayor Pro Tem in the title in bold at the top, which was the request.
No,
Okay.
it's not, but we'll talk about it.
Okay, I just
We'll
wanted to
make
clear
sure
that
it's
part
right.
up. That's all I can,
Because it's not, but we'll make sure it's right, that's fine.
Yep.
We don't have to go back and forth.
okay. That update. Also, couple of updates from between last month. We did have, last week, the opportunity to travel to Raleigh for City Vision. Councilman Fall, Councilwoman Glover were able to accompany Deputy Manager Connor and myself there, where we were able to participate in a bunch of cool sessions. I think I was able to participate in some that were interesting, and also some that were powerful. So hearing some of the mayors and managers who lived through Helene and some of the lessons that they learned on, just the lack of the simple things like cell phones going down. Right? We prepare for lots of things in public safety, but just literally not being able to communicate one road over because there were no cell phones. And they were kind of recommending some preparedness plans, and Councilman Fall and I were in that one, and he leans over and says, you know, or we ought to do that. And I said, our fire's way ahead of us. We have 6 of those units because we were out there at Helena, and our guys experienced the same thing. So being a deployable unit was able, you know, we were able to learn some of those same lessons, but also some of the innovation that's out there on how people are using AI in local government, in addition to just some of the challenges that we're all seeing as communities from a tax standpoint, from an economic standpoint. We're all kind of facing a lot of the same things, including the same issues with the legislature. So that was a wonderful experience for me. Look forward to attending many more of those, and hope to get as many council members there as possible. While we were there, I was also able to go up to the Capitol and make some legislative visits. So we were able to meet with Representative Allman, Representative Echeverria. I was able to see Representative Campbell and meet with Senator Mesemer to discuss the levy limits, how we can be a partner on that, how we'd like to be part of that solution and make sure that local communities are not damaged, because we do believe that, you know, levies are one of the few things that a local community gets to decide on locally. You know, we talked up here a lot about a lot of things. Primarily, one of those things was the tax rate. And if this board were to get, you know, underfund services too much or overfund services too much, there would be members in this audience to let you know about it every single year when we do this. So I've always been a big believer in government close to the people is the best government. And so, you know, having that levy controlled by the local communities, I think is important. There are some structural problems with how property taxes are done in North Carolina, so I don't blame the legislature for looking at some reform. But while I was up there, I did offer our services from a staff standpoint to say we would serve on any subcommittee that they form to give them feedback from a local government perspective. And they were all very open to that. And I want to thank the legislature for that, and thank Councilman Fall, Councilwoman Glover for hanging out with us for a couple days and showing us the ropes in Raleigh. Mayor, that is the limit of my update this evening. However, I am in possession, and you guys are, of a quarterly report, which we are so very proud of. This is the document that we send out every quarter now to show accountability and performance. And I would like to now pass the torch over to Ms. Ellie Landrum so she can present that, because I think you've heard from me enough tonight.
Rob is all talked out. So for those who don't know me, I'm Ellie Landrum. I'm the assistant to the town manager, and this quarterly report is one of my passion projects, so thank you for having me. I'm here to speak on it. So good evening, Mayor and Council. You have in front of you the Q3 report, and we're very excited to present that tonight. I think it's the best one yet, so we appreciate all your support these last 3 quarters as we've done some trial and error to make sure we have a new and improving product every single quarter. So in Q1, back in July of last year was the start of Q1, we made a commitment to transparency and to establish a culture of data and storytelling. And then in Q2, which started in October, we started to see our numbers gaining some context, and our departments began pairing metrics with the stories of people, projects, and decisions. In Q3, which started in January through March of this year, we now see a focus on continuous improvement. Not only is this report a record of what we've done, but it's a tool for asking those hard questions. How do we improve outcomes? Where do we pivot? And how do we stay aligned with council's priorities? So I want to highlight our people first and foremost, because our people power the work that we do every day. The data that this quarter tells a story about our workforce, and I want to highlight our HR metrics that show a decreasing turnover rate on top of record employee engagement numbers in programming, trainings, and events. And really even more powerful in the outcomes of the training and development and talent of our people is that we saved lives this quarter. I want to highlight our sheriff's office and our fire department for their dedication and preparation this quarter and all quarters in service to this community. Really, in short, an investment in our people is an investment in real outcomes. And then when we talk about our performance, one of our key organizational drivers this year has been for our departments to set measurable goals and report on those progresses. So here we see Public Works on the far right. They have their goals along with some clear, measurable, target-driven outcomes, and they show strong Q3 progress. Similarly, our IT department has delivered 3/4 of protection against cyber threats, and they've ramped up customer support internally with the new help desk ticketing program. And finally, I want to highlight customer service and finance, because the data here in Q3 shows that we saw an increase of over 200 new accounts registering for ACH billing in the past 2 quarters. And this matters because it directly improves our payment collection, it reduces administrative burden, and decreases service cutoffs due to non-payment. So that's a huge win for our team. And then the future. Q3 shows that we've been preparing for the future. For example, preparation of the budget, which you've heard ad nauseum tonight, our continued work through the strategic comprehensive plan, and smartly managing our growth through targeted economic development. So thank you, Council, for your investment and your time over these past few quarters. Thank you for your investment in our community and in our staff, because we're really seeing progress throughout these targeted reports. And we are very excited to bring the 4th quarter and annual report this summer to you. So if you have any questions or feedback on this report, it was a very brief presentation, but we are happy to provide any additional comments or questions to you.
Thank y'all for putting this together, because I find it to be very helpful, because we are moving a lot of moving parts going on. So it's nice to really see these things summarized every couple months when we're like, oh, what happened months ago? So thank you guys for your efforts on that.
Thank you. And I do want to shout out Jared Berger for his time and talent in putting this report together. He spent many, many hours making it look as pretty as it does.
Ellie, is there, I just went and I found it, but kind of had to do a search. Is there a quicker way to get to it on our town page?
It is housed in the town manager page.
Yeah,
It is
but
not found anywhere else.
You want an easy button?
I
Is
would
that-
love to
Yeah.
make a data website.
This is awesome.
Can I do that?
This is awesome. But for me to go tell a resident, go find the town manager's page
Yes, sir.
and locate the town manager is beyond many scope, especially for those that are challenged with interweb.
You know, at one time we had those buttons, remember along the
Yeah.
button? This would qualify as a button.
Yeah,
I love it. Thank you.
I love
We
it.
can make that
I
happen.
just want to be able to share it more. And while you were talking, like I said, I was like, goodness gracious, where was it?
Mhm.
I found it because I knew somebody that needed to see this, like right now. And I was like, go see this.
I can't wait for the staff meeting where we talk about whose button we're bumping, because we only get 6.
Voted off
This
the
beco-
island.
This becomes a bit, this is so fun.
Yeah,
I
there's
think-
only so much room for buttons, but no, I think this is a good,
We do have a dream of a dashboard where this is not just a PDF and you can go in, but we need,
steps.
you know, not just steps, but we need time, right? We need to have trends. So, you know, it's hard to have a dashboard if you just have one point in time. At the annual report, we'll have 4, we'll be moving 5, so we'll be able to see over time and go over into certain demographics and certain measurables and see how those perform over time. But I
And
love
we
me
confirmed.
getting my own button on the front of the page.
Yes,
but-
well, we confirmed in real time that we can do a news flash on the homepage. So Jared can.
The many talents
make
of
that
Jared
happen.
Berger.
Yes.
Very good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ellie. Brian Lee is next up with our Finance Monthly Report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So here's the revenue and expense dashboard. As we sit 10 of the 12 months through the fiscal year, we're 83%. So tax collections have reached 101% at the end of this month, at just over $20 million. And the general fund's total revenue at almost $32 million represents 95% of our annual estimation. The water and sewer fund remains a little bit ahead of schedule at about 88% collected for the year, and the stormwater fund is exactly on target at 83%. So we have a really great revenue shot here as we enter the last couple months of the year. So we're in really good condition on our revenue. Department expenditures over operations are shown for the general government departments at the bottom of the screen here. You can see all the departments are ranging in the 70% mark, about 6 to 8 points behind the annual targeted budget. So all the departments are in great shape here. And same story across all remaining general fund departments, as well as the 2 enterprise funds, the water and sewer fund at 72% and the stormwater fund at 68%. And if we go back to those revenue amounts at 88 and 83, we have that nice spread that really contributes to our capital reserve fund at the end of the year that's developing there. Salaries town-wide are at 76%, so trending about the same as we were last year as well. Here's a look at our facilities and infrastructure project dashboard. So this is our single year projects. We had a little bit of movement here. The first is the annual Greenway program. We don't show any progress in the prior month, but I did want to mention that John will be presenting on this later on tonight, and so we'll see this pick back up steam. John went to the county meeting recently and got approvals for some easements to get our Back Creek Greenway connected up towards the high school. So that's a pretty exciting little piece of Greenway that can make a pretty important connection to a future sidewalk project we have as well on Raging Ridge. The next is the splash pad updates. We have a couple weeks before the splash pad's opened, and so that surface is going to get a new paint treatment on it that'll carry it through another year or two. So we'll look for that to happen, and everything's on target to open up on time this year. Here's our facility and infrastructure multi-year projects that are in design. Had a little bit of movement on several projects here. The first to draw your attention to is the Oakley Drive pedestrian facility. This is an in-house design project. It's nearing about 2/3 of the way complete, and so a little bit more work to do on this design, and then this will roll into the bidding procedures, so we expect to see that happen in the next couple of months. Here are our multi-year projects under construction. Rob mentioned this in his budget presentation, but the Cambridge Drive traffic mitigation project is nearing completion as far as the road construction. So that is in and has some finishing touches left on it, as well as site restoration. Once that's complete, we can kind of take a pause and re-look at this project and see what do we have left for the Davis Creek Greenway connection, potentially matching that with our annual Greenway funds and get that taken care of right here at the end of the year. Here's a look at our equipment projects. These are coming to a close for the year. There's a dehumidifier addition project at stations 1 and 2 that the fire department is doing. That's another staff project. So that's about 3/4 of the way done, and they aim to get that done before the worst humidity months hit us. The people hauler wagons, we've mentioned these a couple times. Those are being manufactured, and we expect delivery, of course, before July 4th. The deputies' 2 golf carts this year are fully outfitted and placed into service, as you can see them pictured here. And this is the special operations trailer for the fire department that's also fully outfitted and placed into service. And they actually took it on a mock deployment last week that I think Chief Dunn will tell you a little bit about. Here's a look at our vehicle projects. This is the best that this screen has looked in probably 5 years. We have a bunch that just got completed this month. 3 of the 4 deputy vehicles in that top item are placed into service, and the 4th one is ordered. So we are about to catch up on deputy vehicles, and that's really exciting. We don't have any that we'll be purchasing in the upcoming budget, so we kind of get another breather on deputy vehicles as well and get to start fresh going forward. We also have 5 vehicles that were placed into service in the water and sewer department. So you can see pictured on the left is a Freightliner dump truck, as well as 4 crew trucks that look like the one on the right. So those were all placed into service and are out and about right now. And then lastly, our professional services projects. I feel like we just got done with the 25 audit. We're adopting the 27 budget, and our 26 audit is now kicking off next week. So fun times in finance land, but we'll have a lot of that testing, which is around our internal controls, our grants, revenues, and as many of the capital projects as they can test, getting those all out of the way for our interim procedures. And then that'll set us up for September, October timeframe to finish the audit out. And here is our budget calendar for potentially the last time this year. Rob gave the manager's recommended budget presentation. We'll have our public hearing and budget adoption at the June council meeting. So any questions?
Can you go? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Mine's gonna be long.
Go quick.
I have a quick question. She said she's going to be a second.
Oh, gosh.
On our financial audit, and refresh me, we had asked about whether we were going to do any kind of IT audit with all the hacking and everything that's going on.
Mhm.
Is that part of our financial audit, and is that additional professional services, or is that included in the basic financial package?
They do a basic IT audit that gives them comfort that our entire internal control structure works, but it is not as in-depth as what we talked about in that budget meeting. So that would be kind of a disaster preparedness or penetration testing or something like that we have had in the past, but that would be something that James would do as a professional service,
Okay.
separate from the financial audit.
Can we get that back in front of us for consideration? I just see like the stuff that just went on with the school system, everything else, that'll bring us to our knees. If we have to spend $5,000 to protect us from $1 million ransom, that'd be great.
Yep.
And it's not just us, it's the whole nation, UNC Charlotte, all
Yeah.
the colleges,
Yeah, we can definitely bring you something.
Yep. Could you go back to your annual projects list? I want an update on one of them.
Was it the construction?
No, the Greenway.
Oh, I'm sorry, the
Fuda
single
Creek.
year? Sure.
Yeah, the
There we
single
go.
year. Yeah. What's the latest on the Fuda Creek?
The Fuda Creek. So I have gotten some dates that work out for the group, and so we'll be scheduling some of those backyard walkthroughs. I think it's the first week of June is where all those dates line up. So that's what we'll be aiming for. We'll walk it with those property owners, see what kind of screening they may need or any other considerations, and then that project will pick back up with design.
Okay, so design is not completed yet?
No, it's not.
Okay, so what I wanted to say is that over the past 2 years now, people have been asking me for updates about this project, and I recently received the schedule, what the original schedule looked like. We had approved it in February of '24, the same time that we approved the Back Creek Greenway project. The Back Creek since then has been designed, built, people are enjoying it. And meanwhile, this one is sitting at 5% not even designed. And I feel like this has been a failure for our residents from us. They've been waiting patiently for the progress. And in the meantime, we're completing the multi-million-dollar projects like the Cambridge Road extension. That one we approved in July. Now it's going to be completed by June, 12-month turnaround. Turf, I think, approved in October, completed in March. I mean, it's great. It's awesome. We can do things quickly, so we just need to put attention to this and keep this moving. And our recently completed community survey, we had over 1,000 residents, and they pretty much unanimously said they want greenways, pathways, and so forth. And I feel like on this one, we've been failing them. So since the council unanimously approved this, I really want to see some progress on this project. I want to see measurable progress, and also if you could give us updates on that as well, so that we know that things are moving along. And we can tell that to the residents.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, Brian, get that done. I just wanted to, I'm sorry, I wanted, Brian, it's not Brian's fault that it's behind, so I wanted to, I just wanted to jump in. We all remember when this project was approved, about a month later, we had about 25 people from your neighborhood, both your neighborhoods, and Jim's neighborhood come here and were real divisive. And that's really what slowed it down, because at that meeting, if we go back and look at it, we committed to walking the backyards with those people. And we've went through a few iterations of that. We went through a public meeting, and this is not an excuse. This is just an explanation of it has not been easy getting that neighborhood settled down, getting those meetings scheduled out there, and getting the right people to do that. I agree with you, it should be done. But also, what we originally approved was a real basic one, like we do on Back Creek. It's kind of wide open, and those neighbors wanted something better. And we did commit to them that, hey, we'll walk it, and whatever it is, it's going to be a first-class facility. If you have difficult terrain back there, we'll do what's necessary. It's a very short stretch, so there's not a better place to make sure that we're ending a greenway, because it really ends there at Somerset. but then it continues through the Epcon community, it crosses over into Churchill. So you have multiple miles. It will connect into Farmington, probably down through Mallory Lane, that kind of area as we get development in there. So you know, Brian is scheduling, and I think this is scheduled for this month, to get those walkthroughs. That is really the log jam, is that the adjacent property owners that actually have backyards that we're going to go through, we did commit, hey, we'll walk to your backyard with you and see how this will affect your privacy, how it'll affect, and get those issues taken care of, whether we got to plant trees, whether we need privacy fencing, those types of things. It is Brian's project, so that's why I was being funny there a second, because we did assign that over to him. But he is on it. He's got those scheduled. I'll be walking that project with those neighbors. Once we get that done, then it's really just, it becomes a normal project at that point, and it goes into engineering design. We get the budget estimate updated, because it will be more. I don't think it's going to be quadruple, but I do think, as we said when we talked to him originally, I think it's probably double. I mean, it was a pretty straightforward project when our former town engineer spec'd it, and we've committed to more than that. We may have some areas that we want to do cantilevers or boardwalks or things like that, since we have a pretty high drop right there. But we'll get you updated on that and
because
get that one done.
we have residents, up and down from the Greenway, from neighborhoods up from it, from Camelot, that are waiting and asking. We had some people that actually bought the houses near the Greenway and just waiting for it to get started and get going. Another aspect of it is that the budget, we allocate $250, but then we don't spend it, but that's because things are delayed. So, and it's not like that special project. It's not like, if the money was accumulating in it, there'd probably be millions in it by now. So you'd be able to just come in and, if, I understand that
We still think we'll be in that same situation with the funding.
You'll have to put extra,
I'm not super concerned about the funding of it.
pretty trees or everything, but that's really why money wasn't spent. It's just things weren't moving along. So.
The only thing I'll add to that, I walk the same neighborhood, and hey, what's going on? So we need to be transparent. We need to over-communicate. Yep, we're coming on June 15th or whatever it is. Just over-communicate with those guys, and that'll get us going, get us moving.
Yeah, and some people don't have are not necessarily adjacent to the property, are more vocal than the people that are, whose properties it is.
And we also looked at we did meet with the original HOA board when this started. Now it's changed over, as you know. We looked at alternative alignments going on the other side of the creek. Like, we did do a bunch of investigative stuff with the HOA that was in place at the time, and that takes some time as well. But at the end of these projects, like any other, we want to be able to say, look, we did everything right. We met with everybody, we heard everybody, we built the right project, and everybody is as happy as they can be with it at the end. Some of those are easy, like Back Creek, right? It's just the school. That's the only property owner. Whoever to just run that through and deal with one person. On these, where you have 5, 6, 7 backyards and they oppose the project, they do hang up.
But
we'll
those
get it
people that
moving.
are for it, sometimes they're not speaking out as much, but they have come to the meetings and said, asking for updates. So
They've been very patient.
extremely patient, and really like 27 months, and it hasn't even been designed yet. We really need to get moving on it and get through this hurdle.
Yep.
I mean, the original plan was approved 2015, so some people have been waiting for this greenway that long and really have been patient, so thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions for Brian? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Next up, we have Captain Nash with our law enforcement update for the month.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I want to go over our numbers for April. For our law enforcement related activities, we had 4,002, which is above our average of 3,911. Security checks, we were at 2,244, again above our average of 2,087. And then traffic stops, we were at 695, 2 of my traffic deputies were in training for 2 weeks each, and then 2 of my patrol deputies that are really traffic focused were also in training. I'm hoping those numbers will recover next month. I found out today that one of my traffic deputies has a broken foot and he has to have surgery, so kind of kicking me when I'm down. So I hope we're going to work on trying to get those numbers back up for next month. And our non-emergency response time was 6 minutes, exactly. Our crimes by discipline, see, there was a spike of crime against property. We had about 10 car breaking and enterings in one area. Some windows were broken out. There were cars at a shop that were waiting to be worked on, so that just those 10 made that number go way up for the crimes against property. And here's a breakdown. We have crimes against property. This is year to date, 2026. Crimes against property 35. Crimes against persons 35. Crimes against property 77. White collar crime 32. Vice crime 39. Crimes against society 59, and then the non-reportable is 67. And I'll take any questions.
One of the things Youth Council brought up was scamming, and I think we talked about this before, and you guys have an education program going. Are we working with the businesses, you know, at the bank? All of a sudden, grandma comes in to withdraw $10,000 and wire it overseas. Do you guys work directly with them, or the UPS store? I need to get a money order, or
a lot of the bank tellers are, and I don't want to speak for every bank. Talking to some bank tellers, they're trained. If something looks suspicious, they'll start asking questions. You know, if an 80-year-old woman comes in and wants to wire $10,000 to somebody, they start asking questions. You know, what's this for? You know, why don't we call your daughter? And then we end up dealing with that on the back end. As far as the general public, we have a great social media person that puts out, you know, the latest scams. Unfortunately, one thing, I think some people in the town have been, have received calls on this. Somebody calls saying, I'm Captain Nash with the sheriff's office and you didn't show up for court. And it's not me, so it's just somebody using one of our names and trying to make people think they didn't pay a fine. Or so our social media person does post a lot of stuff out that. But I would say anytime if you get a call and they say it's a sheriff's office, if they say it's a bank or any business and you owe them money, I would hang up and then actually look up the number of the bank or whoever and call them and verify everything. Social media is our main thing.
Yeah. All right. I just, a lot of the houses being built are the over 55 crowd and susceptible to that. Anything we can do to be proactive on that and spread the word. Great. And
a lot of times they do call to say, hey, asking questions. And this person called me, and I was going to send them money, and we're like, no, that sounds like a scam. So at least a lot of them do have the forethought to call and get some advice before they send money.
Excellent. Thank you.
Chris, on the financial side of it, I can just tell you from financial institutions, even folks that aren't dealing with money are trained in it. So there are so many different controls in place that, such as elder abuse, or, they're calling in and they need to make a transfer. They stop it right there. They don't bring it, they don't do it. Come into the branch, let's have a conversation. They observe the individual, they fill out forms, and then it goes to another level.
Seems a little suspicious.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
My mom used to be a bank teller, and this was years ago, but a little man would come in, he said, I want to withdraw $10,000, and she's like, 10,000? How about 100? And he's like, okay. And she'd get the son on the phone and just try to mitigate things that way. So I don't want to speak for all tellers or what their training is, I'm not sure, but I know they tried to deter it way back many years ago.
Yeah.
One more thing, a lot of times it's not cash out of the bank, it's gift cards, it's other methods.
Oh, yeah.
The email scams.
Yeah, go down
They
to
get
Publix
pretty
and get me.
sophisticated, and they're pretty smart about trying to avoid interactions with things like bank tellers. They'll tell them this story, here's what you gotta say. And
They've gotten good though with your names when they call from the sheriff's department. So they did a deep dive search to figure out who was who and use those names. So I appreciate
I know
the
one of
social
them was
media.
Captain Zeman or something. We have
was.
a Captain Zeman. It's like, well, you got to get the name.
Yeah.
Right.
Spell it right, please.
All right, yes.
Any other questions for Captain Nash? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next up, we have our fire department update with Chief Dunn.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Your fire department for the month of April. Start off with our fire marshal activities as usual. You can see several pre-plans were done and completed. Fire prevention events, several were held, a community CPR first aid class, Stop the Bleed class at Hickory Ridge High School, a show and tell at the Action Behavior, and then the field day at Harrisburg Elementary, where about 850 students attended that. As far as inspections, completed 23 of those in the month of April, 21 were first inspections and 2 re-inspections. And to the right, you can see some of the violations that we do find out in our community. As far as operational statistics, we responded to 254 incidents in the month of April, and you can see our 90th percentile times there at the bottom. We did have quite a bit of fires in the month of April. You can see the top left chart had some vehicle fires, vegetation fires or grass fires, trash or rubbish fires. Did have 2 fires that involved structural involvement, which are houses. The other are categorized as outside fires, and then cooking or appliance fires. As far as our special operations team, we did complete a 60-hour land search field team member in the month of April, which allowed our people to learn about land navigation, tracking of lost persons, wilderness survival, and things of that nature. So that gives them certification to effectively cover wooded areas or greenways, construction zones or undeveloped land, parks, trails, and rural properties. So when we have certified 14 in that land search field team members. We also completed 8 personnel completed a North Carolina surface and swiftwater certification. They were partly up in Lake Norman, and then the other part was at OSFM's new facility in New London down in Stanley County. So that now gives us 44 certified people in our special response team. And then to the right, you can see some of the pictures. For the wilderness class, last night they had to sleep out in the woods. So that bottom left picture is someone's attempt to stay off the ground. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Chief Dunn, this week I think has been probably more active. When I say this week, meaning the last 7 days. One over by McNeely Family Dentistry, there was a explosion. Were we primary on that, or were we?
So that is our fire district, primary fire district. That particular parcel is still in the county. So that's why, if you saw the news releases, that's why the Cabarrus County Fire Marshal was doing the initial investigation. We responded as well, and Jeff responded as well. And it was very quick, what happened, so it didn't take a whole lot of investigation.
And then there was, last night, there was a material fire?
So last night at one of our businesses, I won't name them, but they had, basically it was a heating element problem which overheated and then caused other combustible material to ignite. So
was that a hazmat situation? Or?
No, I think that's initially how it came out, but it was a heating system that heats a particular chemical that they use in their products. But the actual chemical was not on fire.
We just appreciate all that you guys do.
It's been a busy 7 days.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Chief Dunn?
And I'll save our mock deployment for next month since it was in May.
Thank you, sir. Just a couple mayor comments. We had our first Rock in the Berg this past Saturday. Hope some of you were able to attend. It was a beautiful night, very well attended. Also had the privilege of attending the pinwheel ceremony at the Cabarrus County Courthouse for Child Abuse Awareness. District Attorney Ashley Shanley, her staff, and many of the other agencies were represented to really speak to the collaborative effort it takes in our county to take care of our most vulnerable. Also had the honor of attending Law Enforcement Day on May 1st. That was very humbling as we honored all of the Cabarrus County police that lost their lives in the line of duty. And today I had the honor of attending Pruitt Health kick off their skilled nursing healthcare week with reading of a proclamation and then a little reception after. They're very excited about their expansion. I think the first phase is 30 additional private rooms, which is in very high demand in this area, so they are looking forward to that expansion. And that is all I have. So with that, we'll move to council comments.
I'll start with the Concord is holding their ribbon cutting. Good gosh, that was hard. Ribbon cutting for the new standalone emergency department on Wednesday at 3. And like Rob said, that we went up to City Vision last week, which I always enjoy that as an opportunity to see how other municipalities are doing things or what may be out there that we could probably bring here. But I do have a couple of questions, and I don't know if Chief Dunn and Kev Nash maybe can answer this, but we talk a lot about how great our scores were with the one comprehensive survey and how safe people feel in our community, and I'm glad to hear that. But we've had this has been a very volatile period, and we've had a lot of loss of life. And when we used to have the heat map that would show where we were going and what, if we offered any additional resources or supports. Do we offer anything like that as it relates to crimes that are happening in the home? Because it's really disheartening to hear on the back end, but we knew that
you're talking about follow-up support other than the primary public safety? Were you inquiring about follow-up support for this?
No, I'm talking about preventative.
Oh, preventative stuff?
I mean, yeah.
We do have a division on the police side. On the fire, other than the code stuff, we're just responding on fire and EMS side.
And why don't we do anything? Because other municipalities do it. We don't, there was a whole session about it at City Vision.
I was probably at a different one, but yeah, if there's something that someone else is doing that we could be doing, either I don't know about it or it's something that we might want to investigate. But I'm not sure on the fire side, we have fire marshals. So as far as design and preventing kind of fire things, that's going through the UDO, which we have one of the most robust UDO sections on fire throughout the state. So I'd be surprised if there's something there. On the kind of crime prevention side of things, that's something we've invested in, but we're just building that out. So I think last year was the first time we had the sergeant with crime prevention. But
so I'm going to take a page out of Alcine's book. We probably need to step that up because that's ending in fatalities.
Yeah.
Are we talking about fire or police?
Crimes against
people.
Yes.
Right. Domestic violence type of things. But I was also going to say there's some stuff in Wake County I could share with you as a resource that they're both preventive and interventions. So I don't know how deep we want to be involved in that, but I think there's something that I think we can do or maybe collaborate with other resources on those types of cases.
Yeah, we talked about this summit or retreat in January.
We did.
And I'm not exactly sure how many fatalities our community's experienced since then, but one of them is too many. Yeah. If we have resources that we can use, we need to use them.
I apologize. I can barely hear. I'm not sure if the mic is. I can't hear.
I have never been told that before.
Yeah, maybe it's just me over here, but I can't hear.
I said we talked about. We talked about this summit or retreat in January, and I don't know exactly how many lives we've lost since then, but one of them is too many. If we have resources that we're using, that we have in our county that are at our disposal, I do think that we need to be looking into it to see how we can better ensure that if law enforcement is making repeat calls to somebody's house and we have concerns of domestic violence, the same way we talked about utilizing community health when we have the heat map.
Yeah.
Why would we not?
Yeah, let me check with Captain Nash on what they're doing with the county resources. I know from a town resource standpoint, we've committed all the resources that the council approved from a management standpoint. So we've built out the crime prevention, we've built out the traffic unit. We certainly add more to that over time. It's just we were cautious about getting up to 29. But certainly it's not always just about numbers, right? You don't necessarily have to double the amount of people. Are there resources that
Right,
should
'cause
be
I'm not asking for more.
yeah, should be being
law
used that
enforcement
are
officers.
not? I can't answer. I don't know of any personally. That doesn't mean there aren't any. But we can look in and see if there's some resource already available in the county that we should be using. Speak of the devil.
She was sneaking back up, that's what I was kind of
Yeah.
like.
I could hear part of what you were saying back there. Let me just make sure I understand. Are you talking about, for example, like calls for service we go on if there's domestic violence? Do we provide? We do. There's different resources. Usually it's the female that we provide the resources to of safe places they can go, people they can call to help them get out of that situation. We do have different services that we provide. Whether they take us up on it is a different story, but it's provided.
Is some of that resources from DSS as well, or no? No?
Nothing, I can't think of anything directly from DSS. If we're trying to get somebody out of a home or offering them a place to go, to get away, we have certain numbers, certain resources that they give them that they keep it very low key so nobody can find them, so they could pick up their kids and go stay there for a couple days, or they would provide them a hotel room to get out of the situation.
Is there victims advocacy?
We can talk about it more offline. I want to know.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I do outside of work. I mean, outside of here. I want to know though, because I feel like we're missing something somewhere.
But always open for ideas or anything that you might have that we don't, anything we could do to help.
We're just trying to figure out a way to be more effective. That's all.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Any other council comments?
Yeah, I just want to tack on, it was a privilege to be in Raleigh, and I think what I learned was, out of sight, out of mind. We were not out of sight. We were there, we were present, and half of life is just showing up. I was also, interested to see how interested they were in us and what we thought and what is driving our local constituency. I think it was telling that while Lee and Rob and we were there at the state capitol, they're like, can we get a picture of you, Harrisburg, in the house? Like, yeah. Notice who's not in the house. So, yeah, you exist. That was good, and we learned a lot about preparing for a disaster and trying to prepare for things you can't prepare for. So that was very uplifting. And I missed the last council meeting, so I do want to echo what we heard from the youth council. It was so refreshing to see that body, and they're the future of Harrisburg. Hopefully they'll go off and do something wild and study overseas and then come back and reinvigorate our town. So I think we're blessed to have that many young people that interested in our town, and I don't know if she's still back there. Thanks to Nicole and everything she's doing for the youth council. We really appreciate it. So.
Anybody else?
I do. A couple comments. First, I want to thank. I participated in the 5K that happened a couple weeks ago, and it was well done by YMCA and Park and Rec. So well done. It was my first, and I'll do it again. I thought it was great. Community was there. Everyone was excited. It was very, very nice. Also, Hatch had the art walk a couple weeks ago. I'm a member of that. I'm a liaison to that committee. Very well done. I wasn't able to attend, but everyone's been talking about it. So again, kudos to Park and Rec for doing that. Another thing that we're having with is Juneteenth is coming up on Thursday, June 18th, from 5 to 8. The Black Student Union, some youth are taking up a leadership role and wanting to participate in that and celebrate for that. And so that's happening, so I wanted to make sure I said that. And the other thing is, I'm not going to belabor the issue again for right at this moment on the Mayor Pro Tem, but I look forward to working with you, Rob, to making it right. The other thing I'll say is that the dais still has not been reflected, and to my knowledge, there has not been a decision by the council to change anything to reflect that. And so I look forward to that being also reflected in how it has been in the past. Because again, the council, we're the voting body, we make those decisions, not one person does that. And so I look forward to that being resolved as well, so I won't have to go into month number 5 talking about the same thing. So I'm glad that we can get some resolution very quickly. Thank you.
I'll make mine quick. I know we're pressed on time this evening. In the this past month, I had to step in and on our favor, NC DOT was bringing in their newly appointed Department Secretary, Daniel Johnson. So I ran the MPO this month. Both our chair and vice chair were out, so they called the backup to the backup to the backup. And we also had Stephen Rosenborough, who was one of the transportation board members, come and speak as well. And with Daniel Johnson, it was interesting to hear, you know, it was very political speak, per se. You know, I pushed back on the idea, hey, new body, new role, new vision, what do you think? We're still looking at 3 to 5 years, and I think I got a 5-minute answer without an answer, to be honest. They were very careful in how they worded anything that, and any commitments that they made. You know, we will go back and revisit projects, and couldn't say if that was good or bad. So, but they did come in. They were excited to spend time with the various municipalities. Had a great turnout in that meeting. So, all good stuff there. We can just keep our fingers crossed that maybe they do find some money, and the budget does get passed at some point. 2 issues that I bring from Stallings Road. One is Harmony. It should be at that window now to put in the berm or whatever we're going to put in, the grading on Stallings Road that would buffer that pond or whatever, or the
retention pond.
Yeah, the retention pond, because now they're down to three homes left, not 5, but 3. They keep changing the number every day. And then lastly, the question still remains. We've got one little section of sidewalk that from Harrisburg Elementary to Stallings Farm. We know there's probably 4 homes there that have been the holdout, and the status on, do we know, when do we anticipate if that will be done or will it not be done?
On the last one, I can get you an update. That's just a matter of, we've now staked it. It's a matter of getting permission from the property owners, but we did break that log jam. I would like to get that done in this fiscal year, so that gives us 6 weeks to get the easements there. Whether we can let construction or not, that takes a little bit longer, but that's the section of sidewalk there at Stallings from.
Was that grant money or our money?
That's our money.
Okay.
And then the retention pond, I have passed that along, but I'll figure out where we're at on that. But because they are at that 90%, they can convert that from a sediment pond, which they have, but I don't think they have completed all of the, that gets lighting, it gets a fountain, I think it gets plantings around it, and that all remains. That needs to be done.
I mean, they did connect, in the last week, they did connect the sidewalk to Stallings into Harmony. So
around the corner.
Has been done.
I'll check
so
that one off.
It's moving, but, they were just asking about the plantings around the pond.
Yeah, well, it's plantings and a couple other things, but we'll follow up on it.
All right, thank you.
Any other council comments? All right, we will move into our public hearing portion for the Peach Orchard Road subdivision. I believe Shelley is going to speak to us for a bit?
Thank you, Mayor. So this is a request to conduct a public hearing to consider an annexation petition, a zoning map amendment petition, and a development agreement for 2 properties located on Peach Orchard Road for the purpose of establishing a conditional zoning district authorizing the development of a 149-lot single-family residential community. This evening's presentation includes a request by the applicant to continue the public hearing until the August 10th Town Council meeting to allow additional time to analyze a pedestrian crossing options on Peach Orchard Road. It is staff's recommendation that this council receive the staff report, conduct the public hearing to allow public comment, and continue the hearing to the August 10th Town Council meeting. The applicant, Pulte Home Company, LLC, and the property owners have requested a non-contiguous annexation of 2 properties located on Peach Orchard Road. The aerial photograph identifies the subject site, and Peach Orchard Road connects Robinson Church Road down to Lower Rocky River Road, located in the southern area of Harrisburg. The subject site contains 175 acres. Along with annexation petitions, we then have to apply Harrisburg zoning to the properties. So the zoning map amendment, again for the 2 subject properties, is proposing to rezone these county properties from a county residential zoning district of CR to a Harrisburg residential low-density conditional zoning district to accommodate the 149-lot single-family residential community. The request tonight also includes a development agreement. Now, development agreement is a contract between the developer and the town that vests rights to develop a specific project subject to the terms and conditions specified in the agreements. Sometimes these agreements include details of public-private partnerships, or in this case, it contains phasing plans for required roadway improvements and park development. So the proposal this evening is a subdivision design following the residential low conservation design regulations found in the Unified Development Ordinance. Lot sizes vary from 1/4 of an acre to over 1/2 acre in size, resulting in an average lot size of over 1/3 of an acre. The proposed density for this development is less than 1 dwelling unit to the acre. With all conservation subdivisions, they are required to provide a minimum of 30% open space. This project does meet that requirement, providing 52.70 acres, 32.5 acres of the open space is found within the development, is identified as private open space. The remaining 20 acres is proposed to be dedicated to the town for use as a public park. The developer has also committed to developing a portion of this public park. The subject project includes transportation improvements. There are off-site roadway improvements based on a traffic analysis. There is a site distance analysis prepared associated with the access points on Peach Orchard Road, and there also is a proposed pedestrian crossing on Peach Orchard. So the image on the screen represents the proposed development plan. Again, the 2 properties actually straddle Peach Orchard Road, which is right in this area. The northeast area is proposed with 65 single-family residential lots. It includes a primary access to the northern portion with 2 future road connections provided in the design as well. The 20-acre park, sorry, I don't mean to make you dizzy here, but the 20-acre park is proposed on the northeast side of Peach Orchard Road in this shaded area here. The southwest portion of the development is proposed with 84 single-family residential lots. There are 2 access points, one directly out onto Peach Orchard Road with one other road connection connecting into Peach Orchard Estates to the south. As mentioned, the developer is committing to development of a portion of the 20-acre park. They have committed to providing 2 full-size soccer fields, a parking area with a minimum of 150 parking spaces with an access driveway with ways for ingress and egress in 2 directions, a proposed children's play area, and utilities for a future public restroom facility. Okay, maybe it's the battery. There we go. The images on the screen represents the architecture proposed within the development. These are just an example. As with all conditional zonings, we do include conditions associated with architecture. There are a minimum of 2 conditions in this proposal that requires quality building materials for the wall cladding as well as no exposed concrete foundations. Now, the zoning map amendment was presented to the Planning and Zoning Board at its April 21st public meeting. The public comment and discussion with the Planning and Zoning Board focused in 4 primary areas, all associated with public safety. There was concern regarding access to the northern area of the development. There was concern about traffic, speed, and the curvature of Peach Orchard Road. There was concern about the proposed pedestrian crossing. It was at grade on Peach Orchard Road, as well as some environmental concerns. After a very lengthy discussion and deliberations, the board approved a motion 4-3 to recommend disapproval of the rezone to the town council, stating that they believe that the project was not a reasonable request and not in the best interest of the public due to the limited access on the north side of the development, environmental concerns, and safety and topography concerns related to Peach Orchard Road, including the at-grade pedestrian crossing. Now, staff has followed up with the applicant, the DRC, as well as NCDOT regarding the Planning and Zoning Board's concern. With regard to the northern access point, again, there was 1 primary access road with 2 future connections proposed. There was an access drive proposed within the park area that would provide a direct access through their development out to Peach Orchard Road. Now, staff has continued to gain guidance from the fire marshal, and this has been redesigned where the access drive was separated from the parking, where you don't have to drive through the parking lot. And the actual road design was widened, and based on this redesign with the additional added right-of-way to this road, our fire marshal for the town says it does comply with North Carolina Fire Code. With regard to Peach Orchard Road, the curvature and speed of travelers on this road, again, a transportation technical memorandum was prepared by the town's transportation consultant. It did determine that there were required off-site roadway improvements, not only to mitigate the additional trips from the subdivision, but to add some public safety features. And they specifically are adding turn lanes at each access road into the development, both the right turn and left turn, therefore taking stopped vehicles making these turning movements out of the travel lanes on Peach Orchard Road. A site distance analysis was prepared by the developer's engineering team. It has been reviewed by the DRC and NCDOT and approved. These studies, if you're unfamiliar with them, they do analyze roadway geometry, both horizontal and vertical curves. With regard to speeding motorists, that's a little more difficult to address. However, speaking with NCDOT, they did indicate that the town can petition NCDOT in the future requesting the speed limit be reduced on this segment of Peach Orchard Road. They recommended in coordination with the park development. With regard to environmental concerns, so the applicant has prepared the typical preliminary environmental assessments that are done on sites they're interested in developing. They've also contracted and had some third-party assessments done. One in response to public comments at the neighborhood meeting related to the status of McKee Creek and possible nesting areas on the northwest side. Additionally, there were further reports of buried debris in the proposed parkland area at the Planning and Zoning Board meeting. The applicant has since contracted for additional investigative soil analysis, referred to as a multi-geophysical investigation, utilizing ground-penetrating radar and frequency domain electromagnetic scanners. I probably cannot repeat that. The study has not been completed, but we look forward to getting that report. With regard to the pedestrian crossing, the original development proposed an at-grade crossing on Peach Orchard Road, utilizing a hawk signal as seen here in the picture and supplemental early warning signals. Based on the concern about the at-grade crossing, a condition of approval has been added to the project you're hearing tonight in the development agreement, requiring a grade-separated crossing. So the options for the applicant is to utilize going under the bridge, such as a greenway path on Peach Orchard, or over Peach Orchard, utilizing a overhead pedestrian bridge. So again, this has been added as a condition of approval. Staff is of the opinion that this project as conditioned complies with the requirements of the Unified Development Ordinance and the Harrisburg Area Land Use Plan. Proposed conditions include grade-separated pedestrian crossing on Peach Orchard, dedication of the 20-acre park to the town, and construction of the infrastructure as outlined in the development agreement, compliance with all local, state, federal regulations and permitting requirements, architectural conditions such as building material and no exposed concrete foundation, compliance with the North Carolina Fire Code related to access in lot design, transportation improvements in keeping with the Transportation Technical Memorandum and the site distance analysis. Other conditions associated with the typical design standards are related to streets, the development of stormwater ponds, mailbox cluster areas, and tree protection. There is a condition restricting a maximum of 10% rental units within the development. If approved, the annexation map would need to be recorded within 30 days, and the requirement that the developer enter into a development agreement with the town. Town council action tonight and staff recommendation is, again, this one project consists of 3 components. It has the Peach Orchard annexation petition, the Peach Orchard map amendment petition, as well as in the development agreement. Staff's recommendation is that you open the public hearing for each of these action items in order to receive public comment here tonight and continue the public hearing for each action item to the August 10th Town Council meeting. That concludes my presentation. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Again, we're recommending you open the public hearing for the annexation petition, the map amendment, and the Peach Orchard development agreement.
So council, I think if it's okay, we'll open that up and hear from those that came to speak, and then that way you guys can hear that again if you did not listen to the planning and zoning meeting, those that came to speak, and then you guys can offer comments. Okay.
Good. Are we able to ask questions or not?
Say that again?
Are we able to ask questions or?
We were going to do that after public comment.
Okay.
Anything else you need to Okay, with that, we are going to open the public hearing. The public hearing is open for annexation, rezoning, and the development agreement. We did have 3 people that were signed up to speak. Keep in mind, at the conclusion of those 3 speakers, we are going to make a motion on all 3 to continue that to the August 10th meeting. So there will be other opportunities for the public to come in and speak as well. First up, we have Lisa Thompson. And just as a reminder, just state your name and address for the record, and each speaker will have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Lisa Thompson. It's 100 North Tryon, Charlotte, North Carolina. Happy to be here on behalf of Pulte Homes. As staff mentioned, we are seeking a continuance to that August 10th meeting. That will give us more time to analyze that grade separated crossing and answer some of the questions that were brought up at the planning board meeting. So we have sent a letter. I'll enter that into record. If we understand additional notification may go out to the adjacent property owners, we are more than willing to cover those costs. So with that, be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Lisa. We might come back to you once we get through. Next up, we have Mike Wallace.
Mike Wallace, 11460 Peach Orchard Road. I still have a lot of concerns about this one access point. They said they've changed it around to meet fire code and all, another entrance into the park. There's still only one access point for these 65 lots on the northeast side. It crosses Clear Creek, which has a conservation easement on it. There's a 60-foot gap in that easement where their entrance is going to be. That 60-foot gap has to contain the road, all utilities, the creek that goes under it. If 6 months down the road we decide this is not going to work, they can't go 100 feet upstream and put another entrance in. There's a conservation easement there by the state. That is the only place they can cross. They talk about these stub roads going into these other properties. These other properties aren't for sale. Will they be in 6 months? Will they stay like they are 25 years? We don't know. Will Amazon come in and put a warehouse there and have them rezone it to industrial? They don't want a neighborhood road going through their warehouse. We don't know what's going to be there. So if something happens to this 60-foot crossing, these people are landlocked. There's no way for emergency services to get in there and get to them or get them out. It's bordered by a creek on the other side. The conservation easement is let to grow up natural. If they put a bridge or a pipe or in there, these people are buying these homes may drive across there and not realize, hey, I'm buying a home on what could potentially be landlocked property, because this conservation easement is let to grow up naturally. You don't even really notice there's a creek there. The 60 homes they're wanting to put there, I'm not really concerned about the 60 homes. Quick Google search today said there's 3.2 people living in every house in Harrisburg. That's 192 people that's going to be there in this potentially landlocked and dangerous position. I wouldn't want them 192 people to be any one of my loved ones, would you? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. I hope I don't butcher this. John Rutkowski?
Yeah.
Did I get anywhere close?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
You're good.
My apologies.
I'm John Rutkowski. I live at 10891 Robinson Church Road. My concern is you're putting 149 houses on Peach Orchard Road. Robinson Church Road, Peach Orchard Road, and Rocky River is swamped with traffic as it is. Harrisburg has to slow down so you can get this infrastructure built right. We cannot have too many more houses built. There's no room for traffic now. Any place you go, we're sitting in traffic. You're adding more houses. That's at 149 houses, you're averaging 2 cars per house. That's 600 cars going down Peach Orchard Road every day. You can't sit in that much traffic. We have to slow down so we can rebuild this infrastructure. That's my biggest concern. Safety. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rutkowski. So now we have 3 motions. I want to make sure I get that right. So we are not going to close public comment. We are going to continue that. So we need a motion to continue the public hearing for the annexation petition.
Mayor, I think before you move into the motions,
Yeah, I got a ton
You-
of
To
questions.
continue,
I think you had some questions here before we,
so we have to do that before we just continue the
yeah, well, I
public?
think
Okay.
once you continue it, then
Okay,
we've continued it. So before that, we would do
pause, everyone. Now
all
we'll
of
go
our
to council
questions, comments,
Yeah,
discussions,
okay.
and then let's
Then we'll
continue
go.
at the end.
So Shelley,
Yes, sir.
you had mentioned 84 homes on the left side. I didn't hear a number on the right side.
Okay. So the northeast is 65 lots where the park's proposed,
Okay.
and the southwest is 84.
So, there we go.
And I know you've mentioned there's some that are smaller. Do we have a breakout of how many of what size?
I do have that. I don't have it right here
Okay.
to go into that, but it is on the plan.
So one of the conditions is grade separated.
Yes.
And I have the advantage that most council members don't, but I've seen plan after plan after plan on this site, and I haven't been excited to see any of them yet. Grade separated. I asked for that to be grade separated above, below, one of the two. But what that is missing is it needs to be convenient to the park amenity, because you create it, you build it, and it's not convenient. They're gonna be back in a year, they're gonna be back in 2 years, and they're gonna say, hey, we can't get across the road. We wanna go to the park. You gotta help us get across the road. So if they are looking at building grade separated, it needs to be convenient, not at the end of the property, under the bridge, that they're gonna have to go all the way down and come all the way back up. People just won't do it. Kids won't do it. Mr. Wallace mentioned the conservative easement, and I know in the past that we've done it with other neighborhoods. We've had a dirt road entrance. I think the property off of Lower Rocky River have an entrance similar to that. Is there anything in the design that would have something like that for this?
Yes. So what we have here on the north side is, you know, if you kind of went through the park, is one primary entrance, one emergency entrance. Not to mention the stubs, which, as the gentleman mentioned, who knows when those will develop, right?
Right.
That does meet our code and it does meet our standard, and it's the same thing that was done in Bloom South. If you think of Bloom South, there's one way in, one way out. There is an emergency access for fire, designed for fire as well. We actually used grass pavers on that project. So if you look between two of the houses there.
Right, there is a.
There's kind of a wider gap. It's grass, but it does hold a fire truck if you go through there. The same as you go to Bloom Estates behind it. They have the same access out. Eiley, Traymore, Traymore 2, and McKinley, all with the same one emergency access, one main access. Wally's neighborhood out there has one access. Those actually got sprinkled because that
Yes.
was before
Yeah.
the fire code changed. So we actually, had those sprinkled. But almost every project that comes before you guys, when it's the first one off of a main road, as all of these were, it's gonna have one access point and one emergency access, and then you build out a network from there.
Well, that was my next question, was because the sprinkle used to be, the number was at 45. I don't know where it's at today.
I think it's 99, but don't quote me on that. It was moved up in the state fire code from this single access. So as you saw, our fire marshal looked at this. This meets the state fire code. It also meets our UDO with that second access point. So it is an
Where-
emergency access. It would be gated when the park's not open, but if somebody needed to get in that extra access, they could,
Where is that second access being proposed?
through the park.
I thought you took that away. I'm
The original access road has been redesigned to separate this primary, the access road through the park from the parking. So that has been redesigned per the fire marshal to meet the North Carolina
So
fire
I'm
code.
confused because you said it was gone, it had been removed, so what,
I think that parking was turned last
Yes,
time.
let me show you the other side. So what's happened is, it was redesigned, the fire marshal would not say it met North Carolina fire code when you had to drive through the parking lot. It was just a access drive through a parking lot. In discussing it further with him, it's been redesigned and widened so it can act as a private access road where you have to turn into a parking area. So it still can be used for access to parking, but it can operate separately as well. So this redesign is based on the fire marshal's comments to comply.
and how long is that, and how much of a delay is that gonna create to go down that winding little side street over there that, for rescue? I mean, now you're starting to understand why I haven't seen a plan yet that's been feasible on this property.
May I add one more? So although they have redesigned the access road through the park to comply with North Carolina Fire Code, they actually are still pursuing, there is a 60-foot wide gas easement that follows this this eastern property line here. And they, the applicant is still pursuing with Piedmont Gas, to do a secondary emergency access through that easement that would join up at this location. So it would follow this pathway as another possible access. So that's still being considered.
My question is, I was all for like a grade separated crossing, but now that I look at this, and I don't know, maybe there's people that study human behavior and roads and design and all that, but are people just gonna still cross over the road? Are we better off just having a hawk signal and stuff? Are they still gonna be crossing there?
Have you driven that road?
Yeah, I
Hey,
know, it's
I could not, I would never put my name on any project that let them cross at grade in that curve. I said it from the first plan, and I'll continue to say it, that is too, I mean, I don't care if you cut all the trees out. I don't care if you put mirrors down the road.
It's just a really hard site. It's, yeah.
Any other council comments, questions?
Yeah, I do have one quick question. How do we enforce this rental? We said not more than 10% of the houses in bad.
So
What if
that's
I'm the
normal.
11%
We already-
guy?
That's part of our, that's just a condition.
Yeah, but how do
So-
we enforce
It's
that?
HOA.
So, yes, the HOA actually, so it's in the conditions of approval, the ordinance, if approved, it's in the
Yeah.
ordinance. It's also within the development agreement that the developer, and then what happens is we review the CCNRs for the community where to ensure that that restriction is included in the CCNR, so it's
Yeah.
basically enforced by the HOA.
Okay, and what is the condition of this land now if we just say, no, this is baloney, we don't want to do it? They can't build without moving forward, or they have some kind of plan now that they could build something else other than this? They can't build on this land as we know it now.
This is the, the existing land has dilapidated buildings on it.
Right.
It was used for agricultural type
Right.
use in the past. I do not believe it's being used at all currently, and there's no other proposal for this project. So right now,
without this approval, they can't do anything?
this is what's before you for
Okay.
consideration.
And then I'm down with what you're saying with human behavior. I also worry about a false sense of security. I press a little button, I step out in the road, and I still get run over. You know, because I just don't think we're a pedestrian community, especially on that road. right there. And then I'm cognizant of what you're saying. Well, if it's 500 yards to go under the road, why not just run across the street right here? So I'd be interested in seeing what that really looks like.
But other than that, it's pretty good.
What's the good news?
Yeah.
Well, and I didn't mean to step on the applicant if they wanted to answer the secondary driveway issue, but I did want to point out from a staff standpoint, we kind of had 5 issues coming into it. We solved 4 of them from a staff standpoint. You know, the traffic issue, we've done a TIA, there are traffic improvements, there's all that. The other 3 that were mentioned at planning and zoning were all addressed in Shelley's presentation beautifully, by the way. Thank you for that. The remainder is that at-grade crossing, which is not solved, which is why staff is recommending that we go along with the applicant's suggestion of continuing it to August to give them time to come back and really address that one way or the other for the board. So it's something that you can actually look at, the applicant can be comfortable with, and you can make an educated decision on.
So with the continuation, we've always done, we hear it, we give it 30 days, we come back.
Yeah.
So with a continuation, if you open it up in August, does it get decided in August or does it get decided in September?
I would decide it in September because you're going to hear this for the first time, the solution in August.
I want to make sure we hear from the public. I mean, August is a prime time vacation month, so,
Yeah.
you know, people will be like, oh, that's on purpose. No, I want to make sure that we're giving them the full opportunity to come in and speak.
And notices will go out just like they did for this one. They're gonna redo that as well.
Yeah, we'll renotice everybody just so they get that 30-day notice as if this is a normal public hearing. Because like you said, you want to get as many people in, you want to get as many opinions. The people that live out there see the traffic, they know their neighborhood. One way or another, we don't want to leave any stone left unturned. You want to be able to address if it's a traffic issue. We have traffic impact analysis that we can look at. If it's a speed issue, that's something you can take care of. I think the remaining issue that staff had not seen a solution on was that at-grade crossing. That's something the board was very clear about early on that they weren't comfortable with. We weren't comfortable with it either. That's something that needs solved before we move forward.
Not that I'm advocating, just going to ask because I know where NCDOT sits. Was there ever a consideration for a roundabout at that location that would break that curve and allow entrance into that park, but at the same time, you've slowed it down to a crawl where it's a lot more safe? I mean, you're kind of looking at Harrisburg Elementary today, or, Harrisburg Elementary.
Yeah, I don't know that answer. We'll get you that answer. And
I mean, it's an extensive cost, and that's why I said I'm not advocating for it. I just would like to know if that would be within consideration.
And as far as under, over the road, it'd be helpful to see a rendering or
Correct.
to visualize. I don't know what that, is that a tunnel or what is that?
I think that's why they need a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Yes. Any other council comments before we move into our 3 motions? All right. First up is the motion to continue the public hearing for the annexation of Peach Orchard to the August 10th Town Council meeting. Is there a motion to continue?
Motion.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Is there a motion to continue the public hearing for the rezoning? I'm not reading that yet. For the rezoning for the Peach Orchard to the August 10th meeting.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And the final motion to continue is for the Peach Orchard Development Agreement to the August 10th, 2026 Town Council meeting.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. We do not have any old business this evening, but we do have 2 items for new business. First up is the consideration of the fiscal year 2026 budget ordinance amendment for the North Carolina Amateur Sports Grant proceeds. Thank you, Jim.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. As always, it's a pleasure to be up here speaking to you about our parks and recreation programs and the things that we do to make our program the best, what we think is the best in the area. And what we're speaking about tonight is consideration of a budget amendment from the North Carolina Amateur Sports Grant proceeds. We're here, it's a smaller grant, it's not some of the bigger transportation ones you see, but we think it important that you all know and the community knows that we are constantly looking for ways to make sure our program takes advantage of many grant opportunities we have, trying to keep costs down for our community as much as possible and still give our kids quality opportunities to participate in great programs. And so we thought it important tonight to present to you tonight a little bit more information on that. And so I have brought with me our great recreation manager. She missed you guys. It's been a while since she's been up here talking to you guys. So Erin Kegley-Pears is here to discuss some of the terms of the grant. So I'll turn it over to her.
Welcome back, Erin.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me for this. So we have applied so the grant that we applied for was a North Carolina Amateur Sports Grant. So just a little bit about this grant is that this is a goal to promote amateur athletics in North Carolina. So it is funded by the remaining profits from the Triangle Community Foundation, creating the North Carolina Amateur Sports Grant Endowment Fund. So this is actually a very new grant. It started last year, so this is only the second year that it's been available for the state of North Carolina. So for this, the youth sports grants are provided annually to the local government, local schools, and the 501c3 nonprofits in all 100 North Carolina counties. Each county is awarded $10,000 and distributed to all organizations who apply. And any of the organizations who apply within the county for this grant has a max of $5,000. So last year what we did, because again it was the first year, we applied for the grant and received $5,000 to fund the new cages, or new netting for all of our batting cages at Harrisburg Elementary School. And for this year we applied and we were awarded $1,000 this year for the Harrisburg Cowboy football helmets. This fund will help us purchase additional helmets for our Pop Warner program due to the increased participants. And with that, any questions?
Yeah, the whole Pop Warner funding, are we, if we didn't do the helmets last time, Pop Warner does that, we cover that, what would have happened to that $1,000? I mean, I don't understand. If, let's say we did $10,000 for the Pop Warner thing, is that $10,000 less that Pop Warner wouldn't have to spend and they just put it in the bank, or how does that work?
Go ahead.
That program breaks even right now with these costs already taken into account. So this just allows us to not spend $1,000 that we would have otherwise spent.
Okay, so we're more profitable.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Just wanted to say great job on, going after these grants. Every time I walk by these like batting cages, I think of you, that you got that money, so great job.
Thank you.
Wasn't there something too that like some sort of, what are they called, calisthenics, some sort of like exercise equipment that was gonna be added to Harrisburg Park? Did you guys get that grant or no?
Yes, do you want to do it? We did the matching incentive, with the county, we did the matching incentive grant.
Okay.
And that was fun, or we helped that, or that's how we got that equipment.
Yeah.
Timeline wise.
Yeah, we still have that equipment. Because where we were gonna place it, the turf got in the way a little bit at some point.
Right.
We also moved the path around Harris Depot, so we're still trying to figure out where to place that to best take advantage of it. We wanna get it probably near the plan is to get it near a greenway, where it can be used along a greenway.
Right.
So.
Ooh, sort of like what they have in Frank Lisk Park, like when you walk the greenway and they have these, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, okay, yeah, great job, yeah.
Any other questions for Jim or Aaron? All right, with that, is there a motion to approve the budget ordinance amendment for the North Carolina Amateur Sports Grant proceeds in the amount of $1,000?
Motion.
Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you both.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you, you
Thank
too.
you.
Our last item under new business is consideration of construction services contract for the Back Creek Greenway connection at Raging Ridge Road. Welcome, Jonathan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It is a pleasure to bring to you tonight this consideration of construction services contract for Back Creek Greenway connection at Raging Ridge. Brian actually mentioned this a little bit earlier. I believe the county has already approved working with them on the easement for this project, and I'll explain that here in a few minutes. But just a little bit of background, this is an extension of existing Back Creek Greenway located behind Camellia Gardens. Provide direct access across access to the existing greenway from Hickory Ridge High School. There is going to be a pedestrian crossing included with this. We will be installing those actually internally, the rectangular rapid flashing beacons, or RFBs, will be installed there as directly across from the secondary access right there at the football stadium from Hickory Ridge High School. And then it will tie into the future sidewalk addition that's currently being planned for western side of Raging Ridge. That's in our budget this year. Just a little map here. Just want to point out that the area in purple is owned by the county, so that's why we have to work with them. And we have been doing that. They graciously approved us to work with them on a final easement for this actual greenway, and I don't know why that's doing that, but we're going to go with that. So anyway, if you see the green there, that green is our proposed alignment for this. That is that's going to be the best guess for that alignment, and the reasons behind some of that are there's some existing wetlands, some other challenges there that we don't want to get involved in. So right now we've aligned it the best possible based on our field conditions, but it could end up a little bit different. So that's the reason for the varying potential on the easement. So basically what will end up happening once this project is complete, we will do a final easement document, and the county has given the county manager permission to finalize that easement document once it's completed. But just a general kind of layout there. I don't know why I was going it again, but in the middle there is our access to that existing driveway going into Hickory Ridge High School. And again, the RFBs will be along that road there on Raging Ridge. Fiscal impact is, its contract is $98,925. Project is being funded by the town's annual Greenway program, as Brian mentioned earlier in his financial report. And then project was informally bid with expectation being under $500,000, received 3 submissions. Project meets the town's goal of providing safe, well-maintained, dependable public facilities, systems, and services. Now we'll take questions.
Any questions for Jonathan? Thank y'all for working with the county on that to get that easement. I know that was a big hurdle.
Oh, they were great. It's actually with the school system. It's odd because it was a school system, but since the county owns the property,
right,
we had to go through the county. So, but it was great. So yeah, they've been great to work with.
Great. All right, with that, is there a motion to approve construction services contract for Back Creek Greenway connection at Raging Ridge Road to Ward Contracting for an amount not to exceed $98,925? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Action items, I had a couple, Rob, so you might have to check me on that. One was the budget specifics for line items, I guess the footnote fund allocation that Altine had mentioned. I've got review design on Main Street Park before more funds are approved. I think we had already worked that in, but I just made note of it. An easy button for the quarterly report, and I think that might have somewhat been addressed with a banner. Did I hear that correctly? They can run the banner, but I've got that down, as well as IT professional services contract for protection, and then updated continuous updates on the Fuda Creek Greenway to let the neighbors know. What did I miss?
You got it.
Perfect. We do have a need for closed session, a brief closed session, to discuss legal and real estate matter. So with that, is there a motion to move into closed session?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Can we take a quick recess to use restrooms and all those things?